Game Day Live, presented by Polar Seltzer, Celsius, and Go Tuckin. Here's Kasey Kuhrts and Brian Middleton.
Well, here we go. We've been waiting a long time for this one. It feels a lot longer than 7 days, trust me, folks, especially around here. But it is finally game day. We finally made it. Saturday for the third straight week, but this time on the road. The Jags and the Chiefs from Arrowhead Stadium. Tailgating has started in Arrowhead for both teams, and they're on Central Time. People will be partying at 11 o'clock and earlier, and you know what? That's okay with me. Brian Middleton, Kasey Kuhrts, we will get you set until 2:30 for the football game right here on ESPN690 and all the streaming platforms that you may be listening or watching. We appreciate you doing so, and we will do our best to get you set for the game that is at 4:30. During the show today, Clay Harbor, you'll hear from him. We have him on Brent and Friends every single week. He'll tell you about this matchup. We will talk to Brent Martineau from Kansas City. Rayshawn Jenkins talked to Brent earlier this week, one-on-one with a little sit-down interview that we will play for you as well. And all kinds of other analysis sprinkled in between those interviews. So full show planned for you up until 2:30. If you are on the radio, ESPN690 here in Jacksonville, St. Augustine, wherever you may have us on the radio, we have FSU basketball coming up at 2:30. And then we will be back on the radio and the stream for the postgame show. Aaron Schachter, Brian Middleton, myself, Brent, and we will take your calls. We want to hear from you on the postgame show, win or lose. Hopefully win, but if it is a loss, we still want to hear from you as well. So that will be the postgame show coming up. As soon as the game is over, we don't have a good start time, but if the game is over, be looking for that little notification that ESPN690 has gone live wherever you are listening to us, or go ahead and turn on your radio or hop in your car wherever you may be, because shortly after the game ends, within minutes, we will be on for the postgame show. That's what we got for the rest of the day, but right now we start with a matchup that we have broken down for a week, and there's not much left to be said, but there are still some things to point out in this matchup, and it comes down to the matchups. There are matchups all over the field, both sides of the ball. Some the Jags will be able to take advantage of, some the Chiefs will be able to take advantage of, and the first one that comes to mind, and really comes to mind for anybody that's thinking about this football game from the Kansas City side or the Jacksonville side, is there's one big behemoth of a person, and that's Travis Kelce. And if the Jacksonville Jaguars can find a way to stop Travis Kelce, you have to feel pretty good about their chances. Now, stopping Travis Kelce means different things to every person. I'm not sitting here to tell you that Travis Kelce is going to have, 40 yards receiving or anything wild like that. I don't believe that to be the case. But let me ask you, Brian Middleton, as I welcome you into the show. When you hear the phrase stopping Travis Kelce, what kind of stat line comes to your mind?
4 or 5 catches, 60 yards, maybe even a touchdown.
Yeah.
He's that good, where just one touchdown, I feel like maybe you have stopped Travis Kelce, because he's one of those guys that you look at and you're like, all right, he's going to get something. The possibility of him leaving a game with 2 catches for 15 yards on 10 targets is probably impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Probably hasn't happened in the last 5 years, or since 5 years since Patrick Mahomes has gotten there and been the starter. So, barring injury, so that would do a lot in the way, as you just said, in the Jags having a chance at the end of the game, really being in the way of potentially pulling off this quote-unquote upset. But as much as stopping Travis Kelce should be one of the priorities for the Jags, the fact that Patrick Mahomes is back there and he has the ability that we've seen even right here in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence spreading the ball around with his receivers. Patrick Mahomes can do the same thing. Yes, Travis Kelce is a safety blanket. He's an outlet. He is a top receiver / tight end. But Patrick Mahomes is completing the ball to Juju. He's completing the ball to Valdez Scantling. He's completing the ball to Pacheco. He's completing the ball to a lot of different guys. But if that's what you're looking to do when you start saying, what does it look like to stop Travis Kelce? That would be my opinion. Maybe a touchdown, 4 or 5 catches, 60-ish yards. And I think you can look as a Jags defense and say, as long as someone else didn't go off for like 11 catches for 120 yards, we did a great job against Patrick Mahomes, especially probably with his favorite target.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to characterize it, because I think you should look at Travis Kelce as Derrick Henry, as Jonathan Taylor last year, where we said, you know what, 100 yards, maybe a touchdown is not the end of the world. It's 140 yards. It's 150 yards. That's where things start getting out of whack. And I think Travis Kelce is a guy you look at the same way. Couple of catches, 4 or 5 catches for 60 and a touchdown. I think I would take that right now. If you told me that's what Travis Kelce was going to do today, I'd be like, you know what? I'm cool with that. Let's see if these other collective players for the Chiefs in their wide receiver and tight end core can beat the Jags. And I don't know if that's the case. But you mentioned some of those guys, and it brings me to another matchup. Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling against Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell. Just strictly on the outside. I know there will be some other things that happen on the inside. You have a guy like Kadarius Toney. Where does he line up? Sky Moore, who's the rookie for them, has come on. But they're 2 top receivers against the top receiver or the top corners of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that's a matchup that you have to feel good about if you're a Jags fan. The way Tyson Campbell's playing right now, the way Darius Williams has played since they moved him to the outside, you have to sit back and be happy with that matchup. The Travis Kelce matchup on Chad Muma, Evan Lloyd, Oluwakin, in the middle of the field, there's obviously questions there, right? Travis Kelce, if you remember, there was a play in that game when Travis Kelce scored the touchdown. I believe it was the touchdown, or it was just a long reception. If you go back and watch the breakdown of that, Devin Lloyd was lost in the sauce on that play. That is stuff you cannot afford in this game, to let big plays happen across the middle with Travis Kelce, because once he gets the ball in his hand, he can run away from you. And if you do catch up to him, he probably going to break that tackle. So that's something you have to watch for. But when you turn to a matchup that's positive on the Jags side, I feel pretty good about Tyson Campbell and Darius Williams against whoever's on the outside for the Kansas City Chiefs. Brian Middleton, agree or disagree? You like what the Jags got at corner better than what the Chiefs have at their outside receiver positions?
Yeah, especially with the way that the Jags defense and the secondary in particular has been playing during this win streak in the past couple of games when they've had to turn it on. Think about the second half of the Chargers game. Think about how well they played during the Titans game. Granted, we know what the Titans were dealing with at quarterback, and just some of the games down the stretch. Looking back at the regular season matchup between Kansas City and Jacksonville, and looking at some of the stats for Valdez-Scantling and Juju, not overwhelming. Scantling had a touchdown on 3 catches, 60 yards, it looks like.
And it was a long touchdown. Like, it went over the top, I bbelieve, when they were still trying to figure out what was happening at that other corner.
Right. And then, Juju, less than stellar numbers. Now, granted, with, Juju, he had a meeting with Andre Sisco, and, that probably didn't help out at all with him trying to get any more numbers. And honestly, Andre Sisco had a hit on Valdez-Scantling as well. So, as much as I like the matchup just with our corners with these 2 receivers for the Chiefs, the safeties are going to be lurking. They're going to be a part of this pass defense as well. So going into this game, I can honestly say that this defense has what it takes to keep the Jags in the game. Because even going back really quick to the regular season game, I believe the Chiefs went up 20-7 in the first half. And then when you got into the second half, I don't care what anybody tells me, they were trying to score more points. And they did. They got another touchdown, but they were trying to do more because the Jags were getting more momentum. They were pulling closer, as the Jags seemed to do as a second half team. So they even proved in the regular season that when Patrick Mahomes and this offense and Andy Reid is dialing up all these plays, we can stop them. We can stop them in their house. So now fast forward to today's game, a team in the Jags that has gotten a lot better and that are really feeling themselves, and they have the momentum of a win streak and comebacks in the way that they've won and having that belief. Yeah, I like the Jags' chances especially in the secondary versus the wide receivers of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good matchup that the Jags should have. Now, granted, when Patrick Mahomes is throwing the football, can he fit it in around those corners? That's, it will be a tough task. But I think when you look at Patrick Mahomes, you're like, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be that guy. So the matchup in that favor goes to the Jags. I would agree. And a comment on Facebook that goes kind of towards what we're talking about, and I have a thought on it. Do you think Stephen Mann says, do you think we see 3 safety sets? And I think they do, right? I jokingly, when things were going bad, said they should play 3 safeties all the time. And they started playing 3 safeties at times, and you had Wingard and you had Cisco and you had Jenkins on the field at the same time, and they could do some things. And when you're playing against this Kansas City Chiefs team, who for the most part is going to throw the football, they can run it with Pacheco. We've talked about it's been an evolution of their game, but they want to throw it, especially in the playoffs, especially when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. So I think there's a good amount of value to get the 3rd safety on the field. If you have to take a linebacker off, okay. But I think having that 3rd guy who can go make plays on the football in coverage like Andrew Wingard can, yeah, I think there's a good amount of value in that, and I would be surprised if we don't see some of that in this football game. But to do that, to get another safety on the field, somebody's got to come off the field. And that's where it comes, can the Jags get pressure on Patrick Mahomes without blitzing? Can they get pressure on Patrick Mahomes and be effective with just their front 4? And the Chiefs have done a good job at making their offensive line better, putting resources into that offensive line. But the Jags, of late, have been incredible in the pass rush department. Josh Allen is playing out of his mind. Robertson Harris, Kasey last week were incredible. Trayvon Walker, we still need to see the moment. No bigger stage for the moment than today. But Brian Middleton, is it as simple as, if the Jags can get pressure on Patrick Mahomes, only rushing 4, then they're going to have a greater opportunity to win this football game? You said the defense can make plays, and you feel like that's the opportunity. But is it as simple as rush 4, maybe get that other safety on the field, and try to lock down in coverage against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that's a recipe for success for most NFL teams. If you can get pressure on the quarterback with just 4 guys and then make the quarterback have to sift through the other 7 guys who are in coverage, yeah, it's going to put you in the catbird seat as far as potentially winning this game and being successful against even a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. To go to your point as far as how the pass rush has been for the Jags, the stat is something like 12 or 13 guys have gotten a sack during this win streak, or at least a half a sack. They've met at the quarterback since the game against, I believe, Tennessee back in early December up until this point. So the pass rush is on point. Josh Allen, you're right, is playing out of his mind at the right time. And I think that this team can get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Now, just running it with the front 4, that would be the question. You may have to bring somebody. There may be something a bit more exotic. I mean, when you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, as we heard in our interview yesterday with the former Kansas City Chief, Joe, I'm going to mess his name up, Valerio. I'm sorry if I messed your name up.
You're right.
But the game has slowed down so much for Patrick Mahomes, even more so than for guys who've been in the league for, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. It's so slow for him. In order to get pressure, I mean, you got to do it like that, or else he is going to figure out a way to burn you more times than not. But what the Jags have shown in this second half of the season is that they can get to the quarterback. They can disrupt the quarterback. Even if it isn't a sack, it's a quarterback hit. And if we've seen one thing with Patrick Mahomes in the teams that he's lost to and the teams that have played him close, there has been pressure. Think about what Cincinnati has done against Kansas City. They're bugaboo, right? They are able to at least make Patrick Mahomes pause for a second later. They're able to disrupt just enough in order to knock off the timing so that Patrick Mahomes can't be as great as he usually always is. I think the Jags have the horses to do that, but I don't know if they can just do that with their front 4. They'll probably have to bring somebody from time to time, do something that's a bit more of a blitz scheme. But if they can just get 4, if you could just put the guys up there, and it's Roy Robinson Harris or Arden Key or whomever is on the line. They're getting to Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, that's that much more better for the rest of the guys who have to go back in coverage and try to make sure that none of these guys are really open when you start talking about a Travis Kelce or some of the other receivers that we were talking about for the Chiefs, and make things tougher for Patrick Mahomes.
I like how you mentioned Arden Key there, because that is a factor in this football game. In the environment, the intensity with this game, the rotation that they have to rush the passer, I think, will be valuable. A guy like Arden Key. I know when I say this, people are going to be like, no, you're an idiot. But Kayvon Chason, can he make a play in this football game? The rotation that they have, even on the inside, Devon Hamilton in the middle, can he cause some disruption? I know he's not a pass rusher, but on those snaps that he's in there and they don't run the football, can he command the double team? You've got Kasey doing the same thing, Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker. So they do have a bit of the rotation, but they need all of those guys to step up in this game so they can get as much pressure on Patrick Mahomes without having to bring the extra guy. And I was impressed with Mike Caldwell when they brought the extra guy from the secondary against Tennessee at home in the last game of the regular season. That's not something you can do against Patrick Mahomes, especially not with your guys in the secondary. So how do they move on from that? They tried to do that a little bit against Justin Herbert. I can't imagine they do much of that in this football game. He's going to have to be creative. Mike Caldwell's going to have to be creative in this football game and what he throws at Patrick Mahomes to try to get him off balance and offset. So that's a big part of this game as well. Just trying to, I know it's almost impossible, but confuse Patrick Mahomes and see if you can do some of that stuff. He, at times, has drawn up some really creative stuff in blitz packaging, and we'll see how they can do in this football game against Patrick Mahomes. On the YouTube, Matt Cooper says, Waffle House for breakfast, barbecue for lunch, Waffle House again for dinner. I'm not mad at it. Sounds like a good little meal plan for the day. That's how you meal prep right there. Say Waffle House barbecue, Waffle House.
Does Waffle House have a rewards, like a bonus system, an app I can download?
Bro,
all those waffles I'm about to buy up?
That's a good call. We might want to check on that because that's a good call.
Mac, do you know?
Yeah, Mac, let us know in the chat. Does Waffle House have a redemption and rewards program? Thomas says, Trevor about to quiet that Kansas City stadium. I've been up since 6 a.m., been like a little kid on Christmas. Can't wait for this game. Shout out to you, Thomas. I'll be real with you. I was not up at 6 a.m.
I thought I was going to be the only one. Like, I wasn't up at 6.
Nah, I was up at 8:59.
Still excited.
Still excited.
Just a couple hours later.
I appreciate you. And that's the thing that I appreciate about this run. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday when we were on from 3 to 6. Just how everybody's bought in and everybody's so excited for this one game. And I mean, it has grown. Excited last week, excited the week before, but just kind of all week, all we've talked about, we haven't talked about anything on the show for like 3 weeks other than the Jags. And, I mean, we joke about it like, what else is happening in sports? Well, it doesn't matter because the Jags are about to play this huge football game with a chance to go back to the AFC Championship for the first time since 2017. So everybody is so bought in and so fired up, even through a week when we knew it was Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And we were getting closer, but it didn't really feel like we were getting closer. And now we're here. And we got Thomas who's getting up at 6 a.m., which I appreciate. I hope you make it through the whole day. You know what I'm saying? Pace yourself. But just how the whole city feels about this, and I know there's people on YouTube and Facebook that are not in the city, but that's even more incredible. We've had people comment that they're in, hey, I'm in North Carolina, and I see Jags people at the post office. We had a bunch of people call in from Texas that they're seeing a bunch of Jags fans along with themselves, and it's incredible when the Jags get rolling and doing what they're doing right now that it just brings everybody together. And the city, outside the city, and wherever you may be as a Jags fan, it's just cool. It's a cool little month we're living in right now, and hopefully the Jags can keep that going today after a victory over the Chiefs. Thomas is from Pennsylvania. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Jags fans all over. You know what I'm saying? West Palm Beach, I just saw that on the feed as well from Facebook. And
I like West Palm Beach.
Do you?
Yeah, man. They got this restaurant called The Galley.
Why is it? I appreciate this about you.
Yeah.
But it always comes back to some restaurant you've been at.
I'm a foodie. I told you that.
I'm not mad at you. You know me. I'm not mad at you at all. I'm just saying it makes me laugh. But anyway, that's what I love about this show. You got Jags fans all over. just finding us on the Facebook, on the YouTube, listening, commenting, chatting. We appreciate you. And we hope you stay with us through the whole show, through the post-game show. We want to hear from you after the show. Jags win, Jags lose, whatever it may be. We want to hear from you, hopefully, on a Jags win. And if the Jags somehow do not win this football game, we want to hear what you thought of the season overall. We'll do that after the game, as soon as the game is over. But right now, we're doing the pregame show, and let's take a break. Brian Middleton, ESPN690 Game Day Live. In the next segment, you will hear from Clay Harbor, the former Jags tight end, the former Patriots tight end, talking about the Chiefs, what this matchup will look like. Former Eagles tight end, he knows Andy Reid well, and what this matchup looks like against Travis Kelce, what it looks like for the Jags, and how the Jags can pull out a victory. Clay Harbor from earlier this week on Brent and Friends. When we come back, ESPN 690 Game Day Live. We'll be right back. In case you were wondering, Rashean Mathis, big Trevor Lawrence guy.
He rolled out to his left and made a play to Agnew, I believe.
Yes, that's the play.
On the sideline. I was like that's Mahomes, that's Lamar, that's Josh Allen. It's not too many quarterbacks that's going to make that throw. You know, even scramble like that. Find his way out of the pocket with poise and make that type of throw. Like, that's big-time football.
Hear more from Rashean every Monday at 4 p.m., only on ESPN 690.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Mostly cloudy and cool today with a few showers developing, highs in the lower 60s. Occasional rain and a few thunderstorms tonight with some heavy rain at times as we drop into the 50s. And tomorrow will be windy, a mix of sun and clouds for your Sunday, and rather warm and humid. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially early and then again late in the day into the evening with highs near 80 degrees. For the CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jack's First Alert Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds. Before you buy a diamond anywhere, shop Beard's Diamonds.
We've been in Jacksonville now for 15 years, and as you know and I know, we have to be ready for those hot days. And this time of year, the cooler temperatures, too. Need that AC working and then be ready to turn on the heat for a day or two. Bold City Heating and Air has us ready. They have for years. Can't say enough about their customer service. The communication, they are prompt, they are clean, they are good. Bold City Heating and Air, and right now, take advantage of their 0% financing on all purchases and just $97 for a tune-up. Be ready for the chilly weather and the heat. Bold City Heating and Air. BoldCityAC.com.
The USS Orlick is a one-of-a-kind floating ship museum. Come visit her in downtown Jacksonville.
There's a feeling in the air where people seem to care in Jacksonville.
The Orlick, a Gearing-class destroyer with 18 battle stars, is one of the most distinguished ships of all time, and the most since the end of World War II. Jacksonville is a military town, and the Orlick honors all those that have served our great country. She's a great location for special occasions and meetings. Weddings, birthdays, anniversaries, memorial services are all spectacularly displayed on her massive deck. The Orlick is also a one-of-a-kind location for a business meeting. Your dream event can come to life aboard this historic destroyer. To find out more, visit jacksnavalmuseum.org or call 904-789-SHIP.
This is where I'm meant to be. Hello, Jacksonville. Hello, Jacksonville. I'm where I'm meant to be.
Find out more about holding your next event on the Orlick. 904-789-SHIP.
The Dream 18 card used to be a secret, not anymore, and we can tell with the December sales. Happy New Year and Happy New Golfing Year. You can use the Dream 18 card right now, started January 1st, and can be used to save on greens fees on some of the best golf courses in the area all the way until the end of 2023. Golf Club at Southampton, St. John's Golf and Country Club, Hidden Hills, Osprey Cove, The Yards, Amelia River Golf Club, Eagle Landing, Fleming Island Golf Club, and Queens Harbor Yacht and Country Club. Buy it now for just $69 and save hundreds of dollars at Action Sports Jack's Dream18.com.
Forever Vets Pet Resort at Durban is officially open. Whether you're looking to board your pet during a vacation or looking for a place for them to play during the day, look no further. Forever Vets Pet Resort has officially opened its doors. With roomy, climate-controlled indoor play areas for big and small dogs, shaded outdoor play areas with a splash zone, and private cat condos including access to a cat tree-filled oasis, your pet will feel right at home. Forever Vets Pet Resort will provide a comfortable place for for your pets while you're away and ensure your four-legged friend is safe and happy during their stay. Take advantage of a free day of play to all new clients. And if you purchase one night of boarding, you'll receive half off your next night. Want to learn more? Give us a call or go to forevervets.com. You can also stop by for a free facility tour. We're open 7 days a week with extended hours for your convenience. Forever Vets Pet Resort at Durbin is now open for reservations.
They say they'll get your biggest tax refund. Jackson Hewitt says your biggest tax refund guaranteed, and a chance to double your tax refund. Thousands in weekly prizes during the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. Your biggest refund times 2, twice the money, so forget about them. File your taxes on the double at Jackson Hewitt today. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal tax return. Promotion ends 4/2/23. Visit jacksonhewitt.com for rules.
Action Sports Jacks. Watch, listen, subscribe. You can watch us on CBS 47 and Fox 30. You can listen right here on ESPN 690. And you can subscribe to our YouTube and podcast, Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. Action Sports Jacks. Watch, listen, subscribe.
ESPN 690 Game Day Live. The Chiefs and the Jags from Arrowhead coming up in a few hours' time. 4:30 will be the kickoff of that one. And around 7:30 will be the postgame show right here on ESPN 690. Aaron Schachter, Kasey Kuhrts, Brian Middleton, Brent Martineau, even Marcel Robinson, I believe, as well, will be recapping what happened, hearing from you, and hopefully talking about a trip to the AFC Championship for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now, it's Kasey Kuhrts, and it's the broadcast on Brian Middleton, who's on the ones and twos. We will get you set all the way up until 2:30 on the radio. We'll have FSU basketball after that before the pregame show. But right now, we're getting you set for the football game. We're going to do that with Clay Harbor, who is on Brett and Friends from 3 to 6 every Wednesday. You can hear him on there talking tight end play, talking the Jags, talking the Bears, all the teams he played for, and a lot of NFL talk. But we had Clay on, as we do on Wednesdays, talking about the Chiefs, what the Jags have to do to win the football game, how good Travis Kelce is, all of those things. So you will hear Brent Martineau, Aaron Schachter, and former Jacksonville Jaguar Clay Harbor right now on ESPN 690.
Realistically, how much of I talked about this today, how much of a challenge is this game against Kansas City versus, say, the AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots? You got Brady Belichick. This time you have Reed Mahomes. And let's not be too recency biased. I know Mahomes is unbelievable, but Brady was the GOAT and is the GOAT and ended up being the GOAT in that game. If I ask you those two going into it, where you're still an underdog either way, and a different part of the game, obviously one was an AFC Championship in the playoffs, this one a divisional round, which one is more difficult for the Jags to pull off a win?
So, disclaimer, I was actually, still playing back when they were in the AFC Championship, so I really didn't pay much attention to that because, I was still playing. But, I mean, it's got to be going against the New England Patriots and then in that dynasty. Belichick, obviously Andy Reid is really good, and Patrick Mahomes, I think, is the best in the league right now. I think he's going to be the best ever. The guy's only 27 years old. Obviously, he's got to start getting a couple more rings here. But, I mean, the Patriots, the Patriot way, that whole system, that team, and just how many times they had done it, I mean, it doesn't get tougher than that. But, I mean, this is a heck of a a game right here, especially it's a teacher versus student, Andy Reid, Doug Peterson. And Andy Reid's very intelligent. You know why he's so smart and intelligent? Because he's the coach that drafted me. That's why I know he's a smart guy.
Smart guy. Hey,
so, yeah.
Aaron, what do you think? How would you answer that question? Harder to beat the Patriots at Gillette or Mahomes and Reid at Arrowhead?
It seems nearly impossible to beat a team like the Patriots at home in the playoffs, but the game was close. The Jags did have the lead early on, so they had their shot. It was a roster with more pressure on it. It was a better constructed roster as far as relative to the rest of the league, so they had a better record through the season. I think this is a taller order, but at the same time, that 17 team had a different kind of momentum behind them than this team has.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Kasey? Are you busy? If you're not busy, I'd just like a quick thought. Which one's harder? I mean, as good as Mahomes is, Arrowhead's harder to play in than Gillette, most people would say.
It seems
And
louder.
this is the team to beat right now. They go to the AFC Championship every year. They've been to a couple Super Bowls. I mean, again, I get Brady. I get Belichick, but I don't know, man. I think this one might actually be even harder. And I never thought I thought the Jags roster in 17 actually was better, Kasey, than the Patriots roster overall. Now, not the QB position,
right,
and not the coach, but I thought the roster was actually better.
Yeah, you're talking about Danny Amendola and Deion Lewis, Rex Burkhead and James White. Like, they were guys. Brandon Cooks was on that team. They were guys, but they weren't all pros or anything.
Yeah, and the Jags had a loaded-up roster. I mean, the Jags have a roster right now of a bunch of guys that people are learning their names around the National Football League outside of a few players, Kasey.
Yeah, I'll take the recency bias, and I'll say this team because I think it'll be harder to win in Arrowhead. You take the stadium, the atmosphere with that. But also, we've talked about it a couple of times this week, they've only won once. Mahomes and Reed and the boys, they've only won one Super Bowl. So Tom Brady, they'd won like 18 at that point. So the Chiefs are still desperate looking for that another one to make it an actual dynasty. And so I think you add that into Andy Reid wants to one-up Doug Peterson and that thing that they have going back and forth. Mahomes needs to still stamp that he's the GOAT, and he's got to win a few more times if he wants to be the GOAT. And the stadium, the atmosphere, I'll go with the Chiefs on that one.
Clay, you know what else is interesting here? We know Andy Reid's really good, and the mentor-student thing is right, but guess what? They both have one Super Bowl title.
Yeah, if Doug Peterson wins, though, I mean, obviously we're going a little far here, but he would be the only coach to ever win with two different teams.
Yeah, the stat for Andy Reid is that if they win, that'll be his 10th playoff victory with the Chiefs. He would be the only coach in history with 10 playoff wins with two different teams, Eagles and Chiefs.
And even his record, again, Philly, he struggled in the playoffs, and he's 19-16 in the postseason overall, which it would be surprising considering his recent run with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's like a 640 winning percentage as a coach. Doug Peterson's winning percentage as a coach is 530. His postseason winning percentage is a small example, but it's 714. It's 5-2. So he's 5-2 in the postseason. He really knows how to coach this time of year, Clay. And I've said this since they hired him. He really knows how to coach after Thanksgiving. And he knows how to do it. Now, meanwhile, Andy Reid really knows how to coach coming off a bye week. Why? Why is that? Why is this guy so good off a bye week? He's like 27-4, Clay.
Yeah, I've obviously been on those rosters, man, and he just gives his guys time, too. It's not like he does anything crazy. He gives you a lot of free time, a lot of time to just rest. Obviously, he'll have you come in and get your workouts in and watch tape, but he literally just gives you extra time, gives you time to rest. He runs through these practice. He calls 10-10-10s. They're just 10 plays offense, 10 plays defense, 10 plays offense, 10 plays defense, 10 plays offense, 10 plays defense. It's a 10-10-10. Easy practice, gets the blood flowing, make sure you're crisp, and he comes in and he does the regular week of work. So it's literally just time off. And people are like, what does he do on the bye week? He's so good after the bye week. I couldn't tell you. He just gives you a bunch of time off. But the reason I think that this wouldn't be as big of a game is because, I mean, look, the Jaguars only lost by 10 to this team earlier in the season, and they didn't play a great game either. 2 missed field goals, the big drop by Christian Kirk. There were some plays left on the field. They didn't get outmatched the whole game. I think that they were in the game, and they showed that they can play with these guys near the end of the game. So that's why it makes me think, a couple other things go their way. They've basically had 2 playoff games in a row that they've won, so they got some momentum. So I think there's a real possibility that the Jaguars could pull the upset here.
Clay, you said a couple of minutes ago you thought Pat Mahomes may ultimately, when it's all said and done, end up being either the best or one of the best ever at the position to play the game. Yeah. Do you think that situation stands without Andy Reid with him?
I think it's a perfect matchup, them two. But I think he just stands on his own. He's just a great player, man. Just his personality, you can just see shows through on the field. The way he can just freestyle and make these plays is incredible, and extend a play, keep his eyes downfield. That's hard for a young quarterback. And the way he can just make something out of nothing is incredible. But on the flip side of that, he can do a 3-step dropping out, a 5-stepping out, a 7-stepping out. He can throw on the move. He can throw to the right. He can throw to the left. He's got one of the best arms in the league. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. You lose Tyreek Hill, guess what? He doesn't lose a step. He's still the number 1 seed. I mean, there's not many quarterbacks out there that could do that. Obviously, Tom Brady's a guy that did that, but I think Andy Reid's a great coach, yes, but I think Patrick Mahomes is even greater than Andy Reid, and without him, he would still be the best in the league.
Yeah, that's an interesting take because we always do the Belichick and Brady thing, and hopefully someday we're having a conversation about Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence in this vein, you know?
Sure.
That'd be pretty wild.
Yeah.
Clay Harbor with us, 4 o'clock hour here on Brent and Friends on ESPN 690. You know, Travis Kelce is so good. The Jags have changed their defense around a little bit since they played the Chiefs the last time, and Kelce didn't go off against them. Had like 80 yards, 6 catches, and a touchdown. But are they better equipped at the moment to handle Kelce or even the passing game with Darius Williams kicked outside, the rotation of players between Lloyd and Muma, not just Lloyd kind of spinning with his head in all sorts of places, and Trayvon Walker now with his hand in the dirt? Like these changes that they made, could we see a significant difference on how, you know, they are able to combat the Chiefs offense, or is that Chiefs offense so good it doesn't matter what you do on defense?
I mean, you can definitely do some things. The Chiefs are going to score some points, though. You got to realize that they got the greatest quarterback in the game right now. They're going to score some points, but I think they do have some weapons there that are better than they were. Josh Allen's rushing better. Trayvon Walker's doing a little better, like you said. Muma and Devin Lloyd, the defensive backs, Darius Williams, Trey Herndon inside. So there's definitely some things that are going to throw off the Chiefs a little bit, but you know, Andy Reid's going to have a plan. They're going to be ready for it. They're going to know how to attack this team. What I want to see is you know, Doug come out and run the ball a little bit, try to keep possession away from the Chiefs. Obviously, maybe get a steal, a turnover here, maybe throw, and who knows? The game goes like that, and that's what I'm looking for. And it's going to be hard to confuse them because they played already this season. Obviously, you got some new players. But I think there are some things you can do to throw them off.
I think the biggest thing that worries me about the Chiefs offense is how much Mahomes can effortlessly spread the ball around without concern for who he's throwing to and where on the field they're going to be. The reality is if it's not working for him on the outside, he can kick it inside. If it's not working for him on the inside, he'll throw it downfield. If it's not working downfield, he throws it into the flats. He's got running backs who catch balls. And by the way, Clyde Edwards-Helaire off of IR. We don't know if he's going to play, but he's officially off of IR, so available if he's ready. But Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you got Mecole Hardman's going to be out, it looks like. He's not practicing this week, and he hasn't played in a while. But there are other Kadarius Toney, Jerick McKinnon, Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, there are guys all over the field who have caught balls for Mahomes.
Yeah, and the stat that really stands out to me is a guy like Jerick McKinnon. He has 9 receiving touchdowns.
Insane.
And 500 receiving yards. I'm like, that's a running back. And it's like, wow, like this guy's supposed to run the ball. He's got more receiving yards and touchdowns, you know, catching the ball than he does. And then a guy like Isaiah, you know, Pacheco, he's had a heck of a year. 5 yards a carry.
Yeah, he's been good.
830 yards. He's came out of nowhere. So this offense, I'm not saying they're invincible because they don't really have that big down-the-field threat. You know, Juju, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you know, you talk about those guys. Justin Watson, Mecole Hardman's out. Kadarius Toney's been coming on. But they don't really have that big down-the-field threat. But like you said, he can spread it around, but so can Trevor, man. I mean, you look at who caught the touchdowns last week. You got Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
I mean, each guy caught a touchdown. Each guy, look at Marvin Jones caught 3 huge catches that game. Christian Kirk, you know, consistent. Evan Ingram last game wasn't Evan Ingram today. Evan Ingram last time the Chiefs played the Jaguars had 3 catches for 10 yards. Evan Ingram could be a guy that changes this game around and switches it from, you know, the Chiefs' favor to the Jags' favor because he's not playing like the same guy. This guy is playing confident. He is running some routes, and he's catching the ball well.
Evan Ingram is certainly looking like a different player right now for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Since that first matchup, that was Clay Harbor, the former Jags tight end. He joins us every Wednesday at 4 o'clock on ESPN 690 during the football season. So hopefully we get at least one more week with Clay Harbor. That would mean a Jacksonville Jaguars victory today over the Kansas City Chiefs. Brian Middleton, Kasey, Kuhrts, ESPN 690 Game Day Live. We take you to 2:30, and up next, the simple question that we ask every pregame show. where he come from. It's as easy as that. You can play along in the chat, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. We do it right after this.
All offers are with approved credit and not a conjunction. See dealer for complete details. Start something new sales event.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
With the holidays behind us, it's time to take care of business. Car business. Now is a great time to get the new car, truck, SUV, or minivan you've been waiting for at Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Arlington. Come to 9600 Atlantic Boulevard and test drive a new Ram 1500 Bighorn. You'll see why truck buyers are moving to Ram. For a limited time, save up to $3,000. Inventory is up, and our selection of new Ram trucks is the best around. Maybe it's a new Charger or Challenger you're looking for. Now is the time to save. Want a minivan for your growing family? We have new Chrysler Pacificas waiting for you. See our inventory at #1CJD.com. We're ready to make you a new car loan today. Perfect credit or not. Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Arlington. Fast and friendly service you can count on. 9600 Atlantic Boulevard, across from the Regency Square Mall.
It's go time at UNF Arena for the Ospreys as the calendar is flipped to 2023. ASUN action is underway in men's and women's basketball on the campus of the University of North Florida. If you haven't seen a game courtside or from the new suite, it's one of the best seats in Jacksonville. Swoop with the Ospreys as they build toward a run in March. Buy a ticket, see a schedule, get a score at UNFospreys.com. Be a part of the momentum at the University of North Florida. Hoop it up, swoop it up, UNFospreys.com.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall. If you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
The USS Orlick is a one-of-a-kind floating ship museum. Come visit her in downtown Jacksonville.
There's a feeling in the air where people seem to care in Jacksonville.
The Orlick, a Gearing-class destroyer with 18 battle stars, is one of the most distinguished ships of all time, and the most since the end of World War II. Jacksonville is a military town, and the Orlick honors all those that have served our great country. She's a great location for special occasions and meetings. Weddings, birthdays, anniversaries, memorial services are all spectacularly displayed on her massive deck. The Orlick is also a one-of-a-kind location for a business meeting. Your dream event can come to life aboard this historic destroyer. To find out more, visit jacksnavalmuseum.org or call 904-789-SHIP.
This is where I'm meant to be. Hello, Jacksonville. Hello, Jacksonville. I'm where I'm meant to be.
Find out more about holding your next event on the Orlick. 904-789-SHIP.
The Dream 18 card used to be a secret, not anymore, and we can tell with the December sales. Happy New Year and Happy New Golfing Year. You can use the Dream 18 card right now. Started January 1st and can be used to save on greens fees on some of the best golf courses in the area all the way until the end of 2023. Golf Club at Southampton, St. John's Golf and Country Club, Hidden Hills, Osprey Cove, The Yards, Amelia River Golf Club, Eagle Landing, Fleming Island Golf Club, and Queens Harbor Yacht and Country Club. Buy it now for just $69 and save hundreds of dollars at Action Sports Shacks, Dream18.com. Fields Auto Group is a proud sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and buying or leasing a luxury car on the First Coast is easy with Fields Auto Group, Jacksonville's luxury auto group. Lexus of Jacksonville and Orange Park, Mercedes-Benz of Jacksonville, Orange Park, Jaguar Land Rover Jacksonville, Porsche Jacksonville, and where my wife leases her car from Fields Cadillac Jacksonville and St. Augustine. If the luxury car you want isn't in stock, no problem. Fields Auto Group will order it and at a fair price. So stop by a Fields store today and see what world-class service really means. FieldsAuto.com. Hey everybody, it's Brent Martineau from Action Sports Shacks. There's a good chance you have a smart speaker, so use it with the ESPN690. Stay up to date on the Jags and all things sports by telling Alexa or Google to play ESPN690. It's as easy as that. Make sure you listen weekdays 3 until 6 p.m. on ESPN690.
ESPN 690 Game Day Live. Brian Middleton is the broadcast on. He's on the ones and twos. Kasey Kuhrts with you as well. We get you set for the Chiefs and the Jags coming up at 4:30. We take you until 2:30 on the radio. FSU basketball will follow against Pittsburgh. And then we got the post-game show. Me, Brent, Aaron, Brian, the boys. And we want to hear from you during the post-game show. Every pre-game show, we do a little segment that I usually fail at. Usually get some help in the chat, so feel free to play along in the chat if you know the answers. We call it Where He Come From, Brian Middleton. Are we ready to figure out where he has come from?
Yeah, we are. And listen, as you said, playing the chat, I don't know, is Jim there?
I haven't seen Jim today yet.
I haven't seen Jim today either, man. All right, well, you know, someone else got to step into that gap right now.
I really need help here, folks. So
he really needs help.
Yep.
All right, Kasey, let's get this music in. You ready, right?
I'm ready.
All right.
Northwestern, Blake Hance.
Here we go.
Okay.
All right. First up, Jags guard, Coy Crunk.
You know what's annoying is I just looked at this when I was in the break, but I also clicked on like every person on both rosters just to kind of. I don't remember. This is not good. It's not UAB, but I'm going to say UAB.
Iowa. Next up.
I knew it.
Chiefs defensive tackle, Chris Jones.
It's not Mississippi State. No, is it? Hold on. That's not a guess.
A lot of typing going on right now.
No typing.
A lot of Googling going on right now, folks, who aren't on the stream.
It's either Frank Clark or Chris Jones. One of them went to Mississippi State.
You locking it in or not?
Mississippi State. Dang it!
Ole Miss.
Really?
Ole Miss. Yeah. The Rebels. Next up, Jags receiver, Tim Jones.
Southern Miss, right?
Oh, look at you. All right, next up, Chiefs injured wide receiver, McCole Hardman.
Georgia.
Pulling back up to 500. All right, next up, Jags defensive lineman, Folo Fatukasi.
UConn. You thought you were going to get me.
No, we had that earlier in
yes,
the
we
year.
did.
And you
and I got it wrong.
You got that wrong. But
yeah,
right now,
baby.
3-2. Let's go. Chiefs future Hall of Fame tight end, Travis Kelce.
Cincinnati.
Let me finish, please. Let me finish. All right?
My bad.
Feeling yourself a little too much.
It's on me.
Jags defensive lineman, defensive end, Arden Key.
Oh, he just said it to Brent. LSU?
Are you locking it in?
I'm locking it in. Yeah, baby.
Chiefs safety, Juan Thornhill.
Virginia.
Jags linebacker, Caleb Johnson.
This is another one that I just looked at because I knew you were going to ask me.
I can't ask you Trevor Lawrence every time.
I know. Is this one UAB?
Is this you
I'm locking it in?
All right. Houston Baptist.
Yep. Dang it.
So where are we at right now, Kasey? You've only gotten 3 wrong.
I'm killing it. That's all I know.
You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 3. 5 and 3. 6 and 3. 6 and 3. Next up, Chiefs left tackle Orlando Brown Jr.
Orlando Brown went to Oklahoma.
Jags tackle Blake Hance.
Northwestern.
Chiefs defensive end of Frank Clark.
Who cares? I got Blake Hance. Frank Clark. It's SEC, right?
No, you feeling yourself, man. I can't finish telling you the player beforehand. Like, nah, you got it, fam.
It's not Missouri, but that's what's coming to mind.
Michigan.
Dang
Go
it.
Big Blue. Michigan.
I had the yellow right. Can I get a half point?
The Jags.
No.
Tyler Shatley.
Clemson.
All right, Kasey, that's all I got. Did you keep track of your points?
Oh, that's it. I killed it.
Yeah,
I blew through it.
Yeah, we've blown through this.
Look at that. And by the way, in the chat, they're saying that Chris Jones went to Mississippi State. Are we sure?
Oh, this is Jim, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's play it right now. Hold on, my bad. Let's get it right now.
Yeah.
I like this in real time.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I was right here. Chris Jones, Mississippi State.
We got I can't move the camera. I'm going to go straight to ESPN. I'm going to go straight to ESPN. They don't get it wrong, right?
No, they don't get it wrong.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
Go ahead and hit the buzzer.
You got to stop pulling stuff off Wikipedia. My bad, guys. Mississippi State. Let's go back.
Baby.
I'm going to give me one of these. Shout out to Jim and whoever else said that in the chat. And I'm going to give Kasey one of these, and I'm going to give the chat one of these. Well done. Well done, chat. Keep me honest.
Look at that. I killed it.
You did. You only got two. I don't even know that. You only got two wrong. Maybe. Go back through and check those two, guys.
I killed it.
Is Houston Baptist a school?
Yeah, that one's right.
Let me check that, too. But good job, man.
All right. Where he come from on the pregame show, ESPN690, Game Day Live. That was one of my best performances of the season. Jim says he's here to humble people. You right? You humbling Brian Middleton right now.
No, never that, man. I'm already there. How you humble somebody who's already beneath the level of humble? Huh? Can't do it. Can't do it. I'm already there. But I do appreciate it keeping me honest in the chat, though.
Thomas says, way to go, Jim. He said, nice, Jim, and then something I can't say on the radio, but his message got flagged for review, so I just now put it on the stream. Let's get to a couple other things in the chat. Teddy says, key player of the game, Oluwakin. We need that Yale education to diagnose this Chiefs offense. So he was almost in a way trying to help me out with where he come from, just in case Oluwakin was on there. But, yeah, I agree with that, man. The linebacker play around him in the middle has been at times questionable. Chad Muma kind of filled in and made plays, but, I mean, Oluwakin is the leader of that defense. There's no doubt about it. In the middle, he led the league in tackles again. So that's a good pick for the key player of the game. And I think what's interesting about it is leads the league in tackles, is the smartest guy on the defense. He's one of the leaders on the team. And he flies so under the radar because no sacks on the season, just a whole bunch of tackles. I think that's a great pick for the key player of the game, but he's somebody that I think we will tend to overlook. By the way, in a little bit, we're going to do our 5 most important players in the game coming up in the next hour with Brent Martineau. And I wonder if Oluwakin will be on that list for any of us, even though he should be, but just because he flies so much under the radar that we don't really talk about it. But he is such a key to their defense, and he's a guy that if they didn't have him, it would not be good in Jacksonville if they didn't make that investment. So he was another one of these free agents that the Jags have hit on incredibly well. You add him to an Evan Ingram, to an Arden Key who went to LSU. Yeah, you thought you were going to trick me on that one. They've hit on all of their free agents, Brandon Sheriff as well, and it's a big reason why they're here. That part is extremely similar to 2017. Because in 2017, they hit on A.J. Boye. They hit on Calais Campbell. Malik Jackson came in the year before, but still he was a free agent. They hit on him. And that's why they were able to go as far as they did to the AFC Championship. And they drafted well because Leonard Fournette was your workhorse back. That was 2017. And now you've hit on your Christian Kirks and you've hit on all the other free agents. And you drafted well in the last couple of years with a Travis Etienne, who's been a key to your team. Trevor Lawrence, who has developed right in front of our eyes. And Luke Fortner, who has played the whole time as the starting center for the Jags. So not only did they hit on their free agents, they hit on their draft picks as well, which is similar to 17. But as we've told you multiple times throughout the week, the difference between 17 and now, and you heard Clay Harbor talk about it in the last segment, but the biggest difference is you've got the coach and you've got the quarterback. And I saw a chat a couple of minutes ago. Jacob Rex, he said, I want Doug to test that pass defense early. Yeah, he should. That should be the game plan for them. I mean, Travis Etienne is a weapon, don't get me wrong, but that pass defense is suspect for the Chiefs. That's where you can get them. So, yeah, I would like to see the Jags come out and throw it early. Obviously, the weather will impact that game plan if they can throw it early. The defense, I think, will allow them to throw it early, but what will the weather look like? We'll ask Brent Martineau when he gets him on. But I would like to see them come out and throw the football early, get Trevor in a rhythm, and not start like they did against the Los Angeles Chargers, because that was not a good start. But it doesn't matter how you start, Brian. It's how you finish. As long as you win, right? As long as you win.
Okay. Yeah. For sure.
But they do need to start faster in this game. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, just don't fall down by 3 touchdowns or 4.
Yeah, can't do that. Can't do that in this football game. Let's take a break, Brian Middleton. Hour 1 in the books. We still have hour 2 to go, and then a half hour as well. Usually a 2-hour pregame show. We go for 2.5 hours today. We started at 12. We'll take you until 2:30. The game will be at 4:30. And then the postgame show will be right here as soon as the game ends. Wherever you're listening right now, you'll be able to find us for the postgame show. Call in, let us know what's going on the postgame show, how you feeling, win or lose. We'll be here to break it all down for you. Aaron Schachter, Kasey Kuhrts, Brian Middleton, and Brent Martineau. But right now, it's Brian Middleton, it's Kasey Kuhrts, it's ESPN 690 Game Day Live, and we're back right after this. In case you were wondering, Rashean Mathis, big Trevor Lawrence guy.
He rolled out to his left and made a play to Agnew, I believe.
Yes, that's the play.
On the sideline. I was like that's Mahomes, that's Lamar, that's Josh Allen. It's not too many quarterbacks that's going to make that throw. Even scramble like that. Find his way out of the pocket with poise and make that type of throw. That's big-time football.
Hear more from Rashean every Monday at 4 p.m. only on ESPN 690.
Attention Dish customers. Dish Network dropped WFOX Fox 30, depriving you of your favorite programs. That means no more football playoffs this weekend or leading up to the big game in February. Call Dish now at 1-800-333-3474 and tell them to put WFOX Fox 30 back on the air. Don't let Dish keep you from the important news, weather, sports, and entertainment programming you love. Call Dish now at 1-800-333-3474 and then switch to another TV provider.
If you're looking to get a new car, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive. Sure, you love your old car, but you know it's not normal to give instructions on how to open the window. It should be self-explanatory, but it's not. And notice how when you're in other people's cars, you can feel cushion in the seats? That's pretty nice, right? No, it's just normal. So bundle your renter's and car insurance with Progressive and put the savings toward a new car. It's time. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council. Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? And now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
This is SportsCenter.
It's the divisional round weekend. I'm Chris Smith. Jacksonville is the first team in NFL history to win a playoff game after finishing with the worst record the prior season. And former NFL tight end Clay Harbor thinks anything is possible for the Jags as they take on the Chiefs.
When you got Doug Peterson, a guy who's willing to just go out there and throw punches, he's willing to risk it all. I think there's always a chance, especially with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you saw what this guy did in the second half. It was incredible. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, led the Jags back in the third biggest comeback in NFL playoff history. So with those two guys, I think anything's possible.
Heard on ESPN Radio's Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Doug Peterson is 5-1 as an underdog in the playoffs, second best by any head coach behind Hall of Famer Tom Flores. And according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, Giants pass rusher Azeez Ojulari, who was questionable with a quad injury, is expected to play tonight versus the Eagles. And those Eagles will look to beat the Giants for the third time this season. And what's good news for Philly is teams that swept the season series won again in the playoffs in 4 of the previous 6 instances. College hoops at Cameron Indoor Stadium, 17th ranked Miami and Duke are knotted up at 38 apiece at the half. It's the 33rd meeting all-time in series history, but the first in which Miami is ranked in the AP poll and Duke is not. Catch the second half action on ESPN TV and the ESPN app. And a Big 12 showdown about to tip off. Number 14 TCU and second-ranked Kansas throwdown in Allen Fieldhouse. Coverage underway on ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Greeny, and it is the best football weekend of the year. 4 spectacular games and storylines, and this will be the place to talk about it all as we are set for the NFL's Final Four. By Monday, it's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN app.
It's game day. Welcome to ESPN 690 Game Day Live. Presented by Fuller Seltzer, Celsius, and Go Tuckin. Here's Kasey Kuhrts and Brian Middleton.
ESPN 690 Game Day Live, and as pointed out in the chat, only 3 hours and 28 minutes to go until the Jags will play the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium for a chance to go to the AFC Championship game. What a moment. What a moment. You asked me this in October, ain't nobody would believe you. Ain't nobody would say, yeah, they're going to get there. Come on. What a tale of 2 years. Tale of 2 halves last week. Tale of, I guess, 2 halves of the season as well, for the first half of the season as well. But it's hard to believe that we're here in some aspects. But in other aspects, just enjoy the ride. You're playing with house money. We've talked about it multiple times. But if you're a fan, just enjoy the ride. Because it's been too long since the Jags have given you this reason to be excited and to be optimistic. Don't take it for granted and enjoy the ride. That's what I got for you. That's my life lessons. As we start hour 2 of the show, Brian Middleton, Kasey Kuhrts. We usually are on overtime with Kuhrts and Middleton, which is at 6 p.m. during the week after Brent and Friends. You can hear us there if you want to check us out during the week. But right now we are on ESPN 690 Game Day Live. And right now, we check in with Kansas City. Earlier this week, we caught up with Joe Valerio, former offensive lineman with the Kansas City Chiefs. We talked Andy Reid. We talked Patrick Mahomes. We talked Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, all kinds of things, including Joe's career, which was fascinating. He played offensive line and then had 4 catches in the NFL as an offensive lineman. All 4 went for touchdowns. 4 catches, 4 touchdowns. Perfect resume for Joe Valerio. He was nice enough to talk with us earlier this week about this matchup with the Jags and the Chiefs, and it's right now on ESPN 690. Let's get a little bit of that Kansas City perspective with a former Kansas City Chief, Joe Valerio, with us on the phone. He does a podcast for the Chiefs, the Believe in Chiefs podcast with the Believe podcast network. They have one for every team. Joe covers the Chiefs in that aspect. Joe, how we doing? Thanks for making some time for us today.
Kasey, Brian, great to be with you both. Looking forward to this game. I'm excited for, a lot of reasons. It's divisional week, and I think this is going to be a great matchup. There's a lot of history between the teams. When you look at Doug Peterson and some other folks on the staff that, have been involved in the Chiefs organization. So, I've got all the time in the world for Doug Peterson. I'm a Philly guy, even though I cover the Chiefs. I grew up and live in Philly, and I watched what he did here, and we came out in the same year in the draft in 1991. So I've got a chance to meet up with Doug on different occasions when he was in Philadelphia, and it's just going to be a great game. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, we're excited as well, and I really like the point you made there with Doug Peterson. And let's stay there. Andy Reid, Doug Peterson, a premier coaching matchup in this league. Obviously, Doug Peterson working under Andy Reid for such a long time. Talk to me about the legacy of Andy Reid, if you will. We've been trying to figure that out this week. Doug Peterson and him one Super Bowl apiece. Andy Reid, a lot of playoff wins, but only that one Super Bowl. How is Andy Reid looked at in your mind in the all-time coach category?
Look, getting to the top and being one of 32 teams that, walks away with the Lombardi Trophy, it's difficult. You see the the sort of the stats around, how many back-to-backs there have been, right? I think the Patriots in 2004 or 5, is that, if I'm not mistaken, almost 20 years ago, when the last time a team has gone back-to-back. So it's hard because teams get better each and every year. They pick up new players. There's new chemistry, new schemes, and people watch a lot of film these days, right? And they come up with new and exciting ways to play the game. So it's hard. So when you I look at Andy Reid as one of the all-time best for a couple of reasons. Number one, he did get his Super Bowl. Number two, his teams always are competitive. They're always building. Andy Reid is a player's coach. His players like him. The fans like him. The organizations like him. His team, is always on the move, and they're innovative. And so you got to put him in. He's in the top coaching echelon for sure, if not one of the all-time greats to walk the sidelines, barring the fact that he does have just the one Super Bowl. It's difficult to do.
Absolutely, it is difficult to do, and we've talked a lot this week about can teams go on runs like the Patriots did. Throughout pretty much the last 20 years, right? They took a gap between winning the Super Bowl. So we've talked about on our show how tough it is, especially in this AFC, to win a Super Bowl and then let alone try to win multiple Super Bowls. But staying with Andy Reid and talking about Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is an incredible talent. There's no doubt about it. How much credit do you give Andy Reid for developing Patrick Mahomes, or do you think Patrick Mahomes is a guy that could have developed really anywhere?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one we kind of will never know, right? Because you can't go back in the past and divert the two paths, right? I think it's a combination of things. I think when you get the right coach with the right quarterback, you give them a playbook that meets their needs, and that's something that I give. Going back to the Andy stuff, one thing Andy does that makes him such a great coach is his staff, his coordinators, Eric Bieniemy, Steve Spagnuolo. They build their playbook around the players. They are not the kind of coaches that, and Andy, of course, at the top, is not the kind of coach that takes a square peg and tries to jam it into a round hole. He won't say, well, this is my offensive scheme, and this is what I run, and this is what I play, and, I'm an option team, I'm an RPO team, this is my, this is what I do. He doesn't do that. He looks at the talent he has, he tries to get the best talent out on the field, and he molds the playbook around the players. And believe me, that's actually a more rare thing than you think. Some coaches get so caught up in their schemes and what they want to do, they try to jam everybody in. And that's something when you look at the runs that Belichick did, that's something that he didn't do. He was flexible with the types of receivers that he gave to Tom Brady. Look at, some of the things where he followed in the path, with Gronkowski in that sort of Tony Gonzalez tight end type, mold. And good coaches do that. So long answer to a short question, I think it's a combination. I think Patrick Mahomes is an absolute talent. The game is very, very slow for him. Patrick Mahomes does not see the game in the same speed that we see the game, or most NFL players. He sees things in slow motion. And that is what I think separates him. And Andy's been able to take advantage of that and give him tools and a playbook that allows him to shine.
Hey, Joe, Brian here. Just to piggyback off of that for a second. So does it boggle your mind the way that it has mine this entire regular season that anybody else but Patrick Mahomes should be considered the NFL MVP? I understand that Jalen Hurts has had a run, but what Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, has done this season has been his best, his absolute best. And I know there's some numbers in a couple of other seasons that people can pull from, but to a certain degree, I feel like it's being taken for granted. So do you think that there should be anybody else even considered for NFL MVP? And just talk a little bit about Patrick Mahomes, his performance this season.
Yeah, no, I'll start with the performance. Patrick has been, again, very, very consistent and way, way above average, right, in the stats and the things that he does. He did it with basically an entirely new receiving core. Like, let's be honest, he hasn't had McCole for a bunch of games. Of course, he's got his staple, Travis, his partner, that they've built that great relationship with a lot, kind of like the way that Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski did. But I think what separates Patrick is his ability to do what he does, given, the supporting cast that he has. Look, he doesn't have, I go back to the Joe Montana era, right? He doesn't have a Roger Craig. He doesn't have a Marcus Allen. He doesn't have, a Derrick Henry in the backfield. And he's basically, and the team and the staff has been able to use his talents to overcome that, because, I'm going to be frank and honest, they don't really have like a tremendous run game. I mean, they have an offensive line that can open holes, but let's be honest, Isaiah Pacheco's doing a good job. Jerick McKinnon fills in where he can. Clyde, been a little bit of a disappointment. And so they don't have that go-to run game that can control the clock. He's got to do it all. He's got to make plays, and that's what Patrick does. So I think that's why I've always put him at the forefront. If they would have kept Tyreek Hill and they would have picked up, in somebody's fantasy, Derrick Henry, right? Like how something like that would ever happen. I'd start to think, well, then Patrick maybe isn't the most valuable player. But if he was not playing on this team, defense included, I don't think the Chiefs are 14-3. I don't think they go 14-3 if he doesn't play. That's why I do have to throw Jalen Hurts in the mix, because I look at most valuable player in a different way. I get it that everybody wants to go after the big stats and the big yards and all that stuff, and the wins that the team has. But I gotta say, look, I'm not letting my Philly guy shine here, but like I think Jalen could be put in that category, and given what he has, and when he's not on the field, the deep drop off that this Eagles team has, for example. I mean, you almost can that's how I look at the MVP. It's if that person wasn't playing the game, what would this team look like, and how good would they be? I mean, so for example, I know that's why like Tom Brady a lot of times didn't win MVPs, and why Joe Montana wasn't a year in and year out MVP. Great quarterbacks, incredible legends, right? Legends of football. But man, look at the supporting cast that they had, the defenses and the support that Joe Montana had in San Francisco, and that Troy Aikman had when he was in Dallas. So, I think it gets a little subjective, that MVP thing. But look, based on what we see now, where the team is, I think you got to give him the nod. But you got to look at other players and say, if they weren't on the team, what would this team look like? I mean, you could take a losing team, like take a team that goes 8-9, and if they didn't have their star player, what that team would look like, and you'd say, maybe he is the most valuable player, in the league, because if their team would be 0-16 or 0-17 if they didn't have him.
No, absolutely. So Kasey is known as an offensive team. And rightfully so. I mean, for all the reasons that we've just talked about, Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball all around, Travis Kelce for a long time, Tyreek Hill, and Andy Reid, is an offensive guru. But if you start digging into the numbers, if you start looking at the games closely this past season, the Chiefs' defense is causing havoc as well. Can you talk a little bit about the problems that Chris Jones and the rest of this Chiefs' defense poses for the Jags going into this game on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's really all going to come down to what they allow, what they allow the passing, what happens in the passing game, right? What can they do to Trevor Lawrence to expose his youth, and to get after him in, his first, big playoff game. Not to say that last week game wasn't huge. I mean, he was unbelievable in the second half, and that's what has me worried, about this team. Is I'm worried about what Doug Peterson has in his head and being two steps ahead of Andy Reid, right? Based on their history and their relationship, and what a great coach Doug Peterson is. You look what he did with that Eagles team and winning that Super Bowl with Nick Foles. I mean, it was unbelievable. He's gutsy. He's smart. He's a workaday coach, and that's what I love about Doug. He's a backup quarterback. He earned his stripes as a coach. He wasn't one of these quote, air quote, offensive gurus that, like, you know, got promoted to head coach without really doing anything. This guy's earned it. And that's why I love, and that's why I'm sure that's what Jacksonville and the players love about Doug. So, but back to your question, it's going to come down to what they can do to Trevor Lawrence. Can they get into his face? Can they put enough pressure on him but not expose themselves with too many blitzes, right? I think if they can win this game with a 4-man rush, I think it could be, you know, I hate to say this, I mean, and I love the Jags. I think they're a fantastic up-and-coming team who are going to be in this. They're going to be in these conversations for a long time, given everybody stays healthy. But this particular game against this particular team at Arrowhead, if they can get to Trevor with 4 and keep, you know, good coverage and maybe throw the occasional blitz to throw him off a little bit, contain the run game so that's not an option, I think it could be a long day for the Jags. I mean, I hate to say it. You know, I want to see a good game. I love seeing good football, but I just think that is the key to the Chiefs' win, and what the Jags need to overcome is keeping the front 4 off of Trevor, giving him time to, you know, find the open guys, maybe find a little pocket within the pocket. And I think he is getting much better at that. It's a little thing I kind of talk about a lot, right? How these quarterbacks today are so good at finding the pocket within the pocket, right? It's not your traditional Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Dan Marino, throw some old school names out there, right? Where quarterbacks are John Elway, right, where they were statuesque back there, and they'd sit in that semicircle pocket that would build around them, and they would pump the ball a couple times, gun the ball, find an open receiver. Today, today these quarterbacks know how to find that pocket within the pocket. Watch Patrick Mahomes. You know, your listeners, watch Patrick Mahomes, watch Jalen Hurts, watch Trevor Lawrence. He is really good at finding that little crevice in the pocket to step up and find himself an extra second or two to allow a receiver to beat the zone, get out in front of a man in man coverage. And I think, you know, a disciplined rush by the Chiefs to get in Trevor Lawrence's face is going to be what they need. And that's what the Jags are going to have to overcome.
Joe Valerio with us right now, Believe in Chiefs podcast, also a former player for the Kansas City Chiefs on the offensive line, a couple of touchdowns in your career from the tight end position that I want to ask you about in a second. But you just kind of mentioned it with Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, and you're a fan of Trevor Lawrence and you're a fan of Doug Peterson that I'm hearing. But talk to me about the vibe you're getting from the Chiefs fans. Is this, this is the Jags team that we beat by 10 early in the season. You know, we're worried. We got bigger things to worry about. I know the Chiefs as a team aren't overlooking the Jags, but talk to me about what some of your listeners and your fan base, the perception you think they have of this Jags team coming in.
Well, I think they're no one's overconfident, and that goes all the way back to the Chiefs fans who go back to the Dick Vermeil, Marty Schottenheimer days, where, you know, these fans are very well learned on you don't throw your helmet out there and win a game. And I appreciate that about the Kansas City fans. I think they're a very, very respectful bunch. They never take anybody for granted. A lot of times because I think the tight AFC West, you know, rivalries that have built over the years, and anything can happen. I mean, anything can happen in the AFC West. You saw these games this year. You know, as bad as the Broncos were, you know, they gave the Chiefs fits. The Raiders, as bad as they showed up to some games, they gave the Chiefs fits. The Chargers, you know, great games. So Chiefs fans have come to expect that the league is made up of really good coaches and really good teams, and they very rarely get involved in that kind of overconfidence. Now, they can trash talk with the best of them. If you know, there's a brewing rivalry, with the Bengals fans, and there's always been great rivalries with the Raiders fans, and they can trash talk with the best of them, and they can get in the mix. But at the same time, there's never, and I'm saying this with all due sincerity, there's never an overconfidence from this fan base. Sure, they're going to be confident that hey, the Chiefs are going to win and we're going to win this game, but you'll never hear them say, who are the Jags? Who do they think they're coming into this place? They've got a lot of respect for the teams in the league, and it was one of my dearest memories of playing in that city, is how much the fans appreciated the game of football and appreciated being in the league. And really, I mentioned some coaches' names. It really all starts with the Hunt family. the Hunt family is, Lamar Hunt, God rest his soul, and now with Clark at the helm, they are class act. And I think the fans feed off of the Hunt family and what Lamar did for the league and how much respect he had for building the AFL and then merging it into the NFL. And so I know that's a long answer to a short question again, but I don't think they're overconfident. I think they're confident because I think they do think that with all due respect, I think they feel that this is a better team than the Jags, but nobody's out there, talking trash about, how dare they come in this place and, we're gonna beat your behinds.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And listen, the Chiefs have earned that, right? I think even here in Jacksonville, we understand, and the Jags fans are playing up the underdog. You can go beat Patrick Mahomes and beat this legacy that has been growing in the Chiefs. And the way that they've put themselves in position for that is since they played Kansas City, they turn the Chiefs over 3 times and lose by 10, which is just a totally weird thing that we can't really wrap our heads around in Jacksonville. But they've won 7 games since then. They go on the bye after that. That was week 10. They bye week 11. And then 7 wins and only 1 loss in that stretch. And you as a former player, can you help us understand how Doug Peterson and this coaching staff for the Jags, it's been Doug Peterson's MO his whole career. After the bye and in November and December and now into January, Doug Peterson teams are always playing their best football. From the player perspective, why do you think that is? Like, is that all coaching, motivation? How do you see that?
Well, it's a reset, right? It's a chance to sit down, right, with some time, right? Because the NFL season is, for lack of better terms, extremely frantic. It's late hours, late nights. You're trying to get a week or 2 ahead because you only have so many hours in the day, right? To work out, get the team prepared for the next game, practice, meet, do the video study, do all those things, and it's a frantic race to the next game. You're traveling, half the time. You're trying to maneuver through, travel logistics and whatnot. And so the bye is like a reset. It's like a reset week to say, take a deep breath, kind of compose yourself. Where are we? Let's look at the data. What have we done? Who are the players that are performing? How do we get them, back into some semblance of health, right? And it's just a chance to start over. And I look at it, I think a little bit of that has to go back to being part of Andy Reid's coaching tree. Doug probably learned a lot from Andy because everything you mentioned about Doug, Andy has the same track record after bye weeks. Yeah. Marty Schottenheimer was a lot like that. There are just certain coaches that know how to use that time effectively to hit the reset button. And I think, Doug probably learned a ton from Andy because Andy has an incredible bye week and post-bye record. And so, I think it's a learned thing. It's a learned experience. And, I think that's the kind of coach Doug is. He's always learning, and I'm happy to see that he's kind of taken all the things that he learned over his career and bringing them to bear in Jacksonville.
And Joe, I want to go back to that Week 10 regular season game. In the second quarter, Jag safety Andre Cisco had a couple of big hits. One on Juju. That was actually tough to watch. The aftermath. Yeah. Glad Juju was okay with that. And then another one, I believe, on Valdez-Scantling. And he got a flag on the one against Valdez-Scantling, I believe, but not against Juju. But huge hits. And I just want to know, from a former player's, mindset, is there any semblance of we're going to get back if we can on Cisco? Not in a way that hurts him, not a huge hit, but if for Patrick Mahomes, we're going to make sure, we're going to try to score that touchdown over on Cisco over the top, or the offense is looking to make an example out of him. Not in a bad way, but just okay, you had those hits. There's a little bit of celebrating on a couple of those hits. Not that he was happy that, Juju was down for the count or anything like that. But is there anything in the mindset of the team going into this game when you have something like that happen in the regular season and you get a chance to see that player and that team again?
You know what? You want to say, in all of professionalism, you want to say no, but these players are human beings.
Yeah.
They're adults playing a kid's game, and we always used to joke, you don't get to wear a towel and flip flops on Casual Friday in the real world, right? It's still a kid's game, and so of course there's going to be that kind of talk. There's going to be that kind of look at film when you're watching film, because when you watch film, you see that stuff. They don't just stop the film as soon as the play ends, right? You see a little bit of celebrations. You see a little bit of swagger from other players when a big play is made. And there's always you're in the film room and it's ooh, ah, ooh,
Yeah.
and the guys are looking at it and going, oh man, not again. We're not going to let that happen again. And that starts to build, right? It starts to build a little bit. Don't let that happen. Oh, we're not going to let that happen again. So linemen are going to be probably a little faster to go downfield and protect the receivers and running backs. And they're going to be getting around piles, and there's going to be a little bit of an extra motivation. And like you said, it's not going to be in a bad way. Nobody's going to try to roll anybody's ankle or hit somebody late, but they're going to let them know that they want their presence to be felt in those situations when players kind of ratchet it up that just one extra little notch, when they celebrate a big hit. Because nobody gets upset with the big touchdown celebrations. That's just part of the game. Nobody gets upset when the Travis Kelce first down. Every time he gets a first down, that's the kind of stuff players expect. It's that extra little something that they bring to the table on a big hit. And that it's like almost I'm searching for the right word, machismo or something that comes out in a player that will make a player ratchet up their motivation a little bit. So I think there's going to be talk, and I think there was talk, and there may be something. The caveat is, though, you cannot let that stuff take over your game. You can't get into bounty stuff, and you can't get into changing your game plan to show another player up, because that's when you make mistakes. And that's when then what they did in the game before actually works to your detriment and it becomes a positive thing for the Jags, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think that the Chiefs need to be careful. They don't let it get, you want it to be a little fire in your belly, but you can't let that fire get out of control.
Absolutely. Joe Valerio with us, former offensive lineman for the Chiefs. Joe, we're going to let you go in just a second because we've already kept you a really long time. But I imagine you can't do an interview without somebody asking about your playing career. And this, one of the most improbable stats, 4 catches in the NFL as an offensive lineman. All 4 go for touchdowns. I mean, you gotta give me some background there. How incredible is that?
I can jokingly say that I was Chris Carter before Chris Carter was Chris Carter. That's what I always tell people. It was what a treat, right, for an offensive lineman. When I was a little kid and I came home from Pop Warner tryouts and told my dad I was playing offensive guard, he was excited for me. And I said, but Dad, when will I get my name announced on the loudspeaker? He said, when you get a holding call. And I said, what about my name in the paper? He said, yeah, when you jump off sides on 4th down. And I was like, oh man. I was like, what about the cheerleaders, Daddy? Because son, they only date quarterbacks. So, I was like, oh, going to be living my life in anonymity. So what a treat, right? I mean, come on. I lived every lineman's dream, every football player's dream to do that. And to be on the receiving end of 3 Joe Montana. I mean, my dad said, son, I always knew you end up in the Hall of Fame. He goes, I didn't think it'd be on somebody else's plaque, but hey, you're there. But like, it was such a treat that the coaches gave me that opportunity. And, I look back on it so fondly to have been able to do that. I paid for a lot of O-line dinners. Let me tell you that much. Cause they weren't letting it go without a lot of fines and, a lot of dinners that I had to treat everybody to. But it was really a treat. And, it's something obviously I will never forget and sort of bonded me to, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever in a way that, I can't even put a price tag on that.
Oh, that's awesome. I may know the answer to this already, Joe, but my final question right here. You played with some amazing guys in the league. Neil Smith, Derek Thomas, Joe Montana, Marcus Allen. Who is your favorite teammate?
Oh man, that is such a great question. I've got so many. I could, in so many different categories. It's kind of like when someone says, "What's your favorite movie?" I've got movies in so many good categories. Horror movies, mystery, drama, action, adventure. And so there's just so many players that, in so many different ways, that you bond with, and that you go, you kind of go through, your life with, and you think back to the memories because you share so many. There's guys that that you just get to know so well, like Dave Zott, for example, was a guard that was Penn State, grew up in North Jersey. We were locker mates, right? So we were right next to each other for 6 years. We sat next to each other on the plane for 6 years on all of our away trips. That's just like one example, right? Of just like the kind of bond that you have with one guy. And then you think about, playing with Joe Montana as probably and maybe him, Marcus Allen, Derek Thomas, Christian Okoye, right? As maybe some of the more famous, more celebrity type players. And you have a certain affiliation and love of getting the opportunity to share the field with greatness. Players that you went to battle with, every day on the line. So many guys that I could look back on, and I'd be doing an injustice if I said who was my favorite, because there's so many different categories of friendship that happen in the NFL, and bonds that you make that it's hard to put that on one person.
Absolutely. And I mean, an incredible resume you have, Joe, playing the teammates you've had and now doing the Believe in Chiefs podcast. Believe.com is where you can find that. Joe Valerio, enjoy the football. We appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we can do this for many more years to come when the Jags and Chiefs are playing in AFC championship games. How does that sound?
I'm looking in my crystal ball, and I see it. I see it coming. This Jaguars team is here to stay, and I'm really excited about it, and it's great to see a team come into this echelon, which they're going to stay, which is fun. I love seeing teams coming in and going out and making it fun. And I think this Jags team is one of them. So I think it's going to be a great game. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for where this Jags team is going.
Absolutely, we are as well. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your time.
Of course, guys. Thanks so much.
That was me and Brian Middleton catching up with Joe Valerio, the former offensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs, the Believe in Chiefs podcast, which you can find on Believe.com. When we come back, we go to Kansas City and we check in with the one and only Brent Martineau and talk about the 5 most important football players in this game, both sides, both teams, whoever you want to pick is on the table. We do that right after this. In case you were wondering, Rashean Mathis, big Trevor Lawrence guy.
He rolled out to his left and made a play to Agnew, I believe.
Yes, that's the play.
On the sideline. I was like that's Mahomes, that's Lamar, that's Josh Allen. It's not too many quarterbacks that's going to make that throw. And, even scramble like that. Find his way out of the pocket with poise and make that type of throw. Like, that's big-time football.
Hear more from Rashean every Monday at 4 p.m., only on ESPN 690.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Mostly cloudy and cool today with a few showers developing, highs in the lower 60s. Occasional rain and a few thunderstorms tonight with some heavy rain at times as we drop into the 50s. And tomorrow will be windy, a mix of sun and clouds for your Sunday, and rather warm and humid. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially early and then again late in the day into the evening with highs near 80 degrees. For the CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jack's First Alert Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds. Before you buy a diamond anywhere, shop Beard's Diamonds.
I'm Tracy Phillips, owner of Promotional Presence and Jack's Chamber member, volunteer facilitator, and on the advisory board for the JWBC. I've learned firsthand from the courses and education offered by the JWBC that the connections and resources provide an environment for entrepreneurs to network and prosper alongside each other. Learn how to get involved and support North Florida women's business owners by visiting jackswbc.com.
We've been in Jacksonville now for 15 years, and as you know and I know, we have to be ready for those hot days. And this time of year, the cooler temperatures, too. Need that AC working and then be ready to turn on the heat for a day or two. Bold City Heating and Air has us ready. They have for years. Can't say enough about their customer service. The communication, they are prompt, they are clean, they are good. Bold City Heating and Air, and right now, take advantage of their 0% financing on all purchases and just $97 for a tune-up. Be ready for the chilly weather and the heat. Bold City Heating and Air, boldcityac.com.
The USS Orlick is a one-of-a-kind floating ship museum. Come visit her in downtown Jacksonville.
There's a feeling in the air where people seem to care in Jacksonville.
The Orlick, a Gearing-class destroyer with 18 battle stars, is one of the most distinguished ships of all time, and the most since the end of World War II. Jacksonville is a military town, and the Orlick honors all those that have served our great country. She's a great location for special occasions and meetings. Weddings, birthdays, anniversaries, memorial services are all spectacularly displayed on her massive deck. The Orlick is also a one-of-a-kind location for a business meeting. Your dream event can come to life aboard this historic destroyer. To find out more, visit jacksnavalmuseum.org or call 904-789-SHIP.
This is where I'm meant to be. Hello, Jacksonville. Hello, Jacksonville. I'm where I'm meant to be.
Find out more about holding your next event on the Orlick. 904-789-SHIP.
Listen to ESPN 690 anytime, anywhere, on any device. Whether you're at home or on the go, get the latest on the Jags, FSU, the Jumbo Shrimp, and Action Sports Jacks on Odyssey.com. That's AUDACY.com or on ESPN690.com.
ESPN 690 Game Day live from Jacksonville to Kansas City. We'll go to Kansas City in just a second. Interesting comment on the stream that we have to address, Brian Middleton. And that's Andy Cray. This song and the Ship ad, he's not a fan. Not a fan of the Ship song.
Really?
I love it.
I'm about to say, man, it has a very 1900s feel.
It's my favorite commercial
feel.
we have.
Yeah.
It's so great.
We sing along.
We do. We
Not
were just
lying to
singing.
you, man.
We were just singing along. I could understand why you don't love it, but
Yeah, because to be fair, Kasey, it had to grow on me too. The first time I heard it, I was like, wow, they greenlit this. But now I find myself hoping to find cart number 3481 or 3401.
Yes.
Just saying.
It's one of our favorite commercials, but I could understand the frustration.
Shout out to you, Andy.
Yeah, appreciate you listening. Appreciate you listening close enough to the commercials as well, where you're like, oh wait, this
ain't it, Chief.
This ain't it. But listen, we appreciate you, and you're gonna hear it probably a couple more times today. I hate to tell you, that's just kind of how we're operating right now. Brian Middleton, Kasey Kuhrts, and Brent Martineau from Kansas City. Brent, you a fan of the USS Orlick commercial?
Love it. You should go visit it, by the way. Get a little history in you young lads. Would be a good idea.
He just calls us lads? What is this?
Yeah.
All right, we move on. Brett, how's it going? Haven't talked to you since yesterday. What's the scene looking like in Kansas City? Saw your video. A lot of tailgating going on early for the Chiefs fans.
Yeah, Jags just arrived. That's why we're here in Kansas City. Tell you the latest, and that is the Jaguars arriving. Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, saw all those guys walk in. And could that offense have a big day here against the Kansas City Chiefs? Sounds like they're going to need it, right? Everybody thinks this Kansas City team is going to put up probably close to 30, if not more than 30. Jags are going to have to keep pace. And right now we've got good weather. Standing right in one of the end zones, or right outside one of the end zones here at Arrowhead Stadium. And it's cool, but not crazy cold. And expecting some either a mix of rain and snow that will turn to snow at some point this afternoon. But so far, just cloudy skies.
Well, at least you'll get to be inside during the game, inside the press box. I feel bad for whoever has to shoot it, either Marcel Robinson or Stuart Weber, but hopefully they stay warm. And you mentioned it, the offense of the Jags. You saw them coming in, talking about the points they're going to need to put up. So let's do it. The 5 most important players in the football game. We'll start at 5, Brent Martineau and Brian Middleton. And I will go first. And my 5th most important player is Isaac Pacheco for the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, the evolution of what they've done well is they can throw it around, but they now all of a sudden can run the football. And this guy, I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you that he's Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor, because he's not that, but he's been serviceable. He's been good for them. 800 yards this season. Kind of came out of nowhere. They started the season with Edwards-Helaire. He gets hurt, and here comes Isaac Pacheco, being a good fantasy play if you picked him up early enough. But he has given them a piece of their offense that they were missing at times, be able to run the ball when you need to and when you want to. I think he will be valuable in their attempts to win. The Jags know what Patrick Mahomes is going to want to do to throw the football, but stopping Isaac Pacheco will be a key factor for them. Brent, what you got at number 5?
I'm going to go with Walker Little here at number 5. I think he is going to have a big task at hand, and he's obviously been playing a few games now, but he's got to step it up even more. Did a nice job last week. I mean, he came out of that game, I think it was, 39 snaps over there or pass snaps and no pressure. So I think people are raving about the way Walker Little played last week. Lights out was the term that Trevor Lawrence used. But I think he's going to have to do that again. And it's not just the edge guys. I think they might move Chris Jones around a little bit. You could see him on him. So he's going to have to help out and also try to open up some things in the run game on that outside. I mean, they want to get outside the tackle a little bit with the Travis Etienne. So I think Walker Little is very important in this football game, holding it down in pass protection, but also freeing up Travis Etienne and keeping Chris Jones at bay.
Ryan Middleton.
That would help if I had the mic on. I'm going to stick with my last week number 5, most important player of the game, the X Factor, Jamal Agnew, for all the reasons that you can think of. 134 yards in kick return yardage last week against the Chargers, 50-plus yarder in the last 2 games in kick returns. And also, listen, when he faced the Chiefs back in week 10 of the regular season, he had a 39-yard return, and he averaged 36 yards on 2 returns, kicking return yardage. So this guy can, as we've said before, flip the field for you. He can relieve that pressure of having to drive 85 yards after a kickoff, and he can actually be a momentum swing for you, and you're going to need that on the road at an Arrowhead Stadium that's very loud against a very good team. So I have Jamal Agnew as my number 5 most important player.
At number 4, I got Evan Ingram, the tight end for the Jags. It's as simple as this. Last week, he was a huge factor in their comeback. 11 targets, 7 of those catches for 93 and a touchdown. But you look back at the big games the Jags have played this year. Talk about Dallas. Evan Ingram had 10 targets in the football game. The Titans game, in Nashville, 15 targets in the game. He did not do much in the first matchup that we talked about against Kansas City. How does Doug Peterson get him more involved? But when the chips are down and you need big plays, Evan Ingram is the guy that you're looking for. Trevor Lawrence has established that relationship, and they need Evan Ingram to get cooking if they want to win this football game. Brent, what you got?
I've got Jerick McKinnon as number 4 for me. I think the thing that I noticed the most about watching Patrick Mahomes in this place in week number 10 was his ability to notice the outlet guy when everything else isn't working. Everything else is covered up. And there's usually a guy sitting out there like hugging the sideline, and even Patrick Mahomes rolling right can get it over. He can make that throw. He's got the vision, the understanding that that guy is always over there. And there's so much attention on everybody else in the middle, Travis Kelce or somebody else outside, that guy's usually free. And that turns into a pass and a lot of green grass in front of him. So keep an eye on McKinnon, who has been a touchdown machine as of late for the Kansas City Chiefs.
The running back from the real GSU. Ain't that right, Brian Middleton?
There you go. I like to hear that. Even though he's on Kansas City, he's doing good things. Shout out to a former Eagle. My number 4, Riley Patterson. This guy, as I've said, throughout the entire regular season, the most consistent kicker in Jaguars history. I'm going to stand by that regardless of what the numbers may say. And he's shown up in big moments. No bigger moment than last week against the Chargers. He has ice in his veins. If you need him to get you 3 points, he can get you 3 points from 20 yards out, from 45, 50 yards out. And I think you're going to need every point you can possibly get. Do I think that Doug Peterson is going to be going for it on 4th down? Depending on the situation, yes, I think he is going to be aggressive. But I do think he is going to be relying on Riley Patterson in certain situations as well. And I think that Riley Patterson has to come through in order for this to be a game that the Jaguars can win. So I have Riley Patterson as number 4.
At number 3, I got the guy that Brent had at number 4, and that's Jerick McKinnon. You mentioned it, Brent. Touchdown machine, 6 games, 9 touchdowns of late. So he has been incredible, but all of those but one coming in the receiving game. And he has turned into the receiving weapon for Patrick Mahomes that they left and got rid of with Tyreek Hill. They've got other options, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, but this guy has become a good receiver for them out of the backfield. Where do they use him? How do they move him around? What can they do with Jerick McKinnon? But I got him at number 3 because of all the touchdowns he's been scoring.
I've got number 3 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to use Foley Kasey again in this example. I really think they have to get into the pressure. They paid him 3 years, $30 million. He came to play on Saturday as the music picks up here at Arrowhead Stadium. But give me a little bit of a test on how loud it might be, I guess, with the music blasting here a few hours before the game. So hopefully you can still hear it. But Foley Fatakasi, guys, that interior has to be some form of Roy Robertson-Harris, Devon Hamilton, Foley Fatakasi. But I think they paid Fatakasi the money to make plays this time of year. And he showed up against the Chargers. He'll have to show up again in this one.
Brian.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we can definitely hear. It's going to be loud out there at Arrowhead.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence might walk back those comments if it's going to be as loud as
Bring
that.
some earplugs. My number 3, I have L'Jarius Sneed, DB for the Chiefs. Listen, what the Jags bring to the field are multiple players who can put pressure on you from the receiver position, whether you're talking about a Christian Kirk, whether you're talking about a Zay Jones, or whether you're talking about an Evan Ingram, you name it. Even if it's Travis Etienne lining out, at the split or something like that. And for Sneed, I mean, he's had a pretty good season, man. 3 forced fumbles, 3 INTs. He's played in a lot of games. He's played fairly well. He'll be lined up on one or all of these guys at some point in certain ways, depending on how the formations are stacked up against him. If he doesn't show up, if he's getting burned, if he's getting used up, Trevor will smell that out and will continue going that way. So if the Chiefs want to win this game, I mean, I hope that they at least want to win the game. But if the Chiefs are looking to win this game, I think he has to play well against this Jags passing attack.
I got Christian Kirk at number 2. You paid him to be your guy. He's been your guy. He's been a number 1 receiver. He does work from the slot. He does it from the outside. But the matchup in the slot today will be interesting with Christian Kirk and Trent McDuffie. You can do some work on Trent McDuffie. He's a first-round pick. He's had a good season, but Christian Kirk has the advantage in the route running. We saw it the last couple of weeks. Even when not getting thrown the football, Christian Kirk continues to find ways to get open, and you sign big-time players for these big-time moments. The contract is behind us. We don't talk about it anymore because he had a great regular season, but you can put a stamp and an exclamation point on that today if you're Christian Kirk, helping Trevor Lawrence move this football down the field, maybe a touchdown or 2. I like the matchup he has with McDuffie. I got Christian Kirk at number 2. Brent Martineau, what do you have?
I'm going to go with Nick Bolton for the Kansas City Chiefs, the linebacker. You know, we talk about Foye Oluokun and what a tackling machine he is. Well, this guy's got 180 of them. And I know not a lot of people talk about the Chiefs' defense, but will he be able to chase down, and he's a fast guy, will he chase down Travis Etienne, keep him in check? And so I think that's a big part of this game. Jags have to be able to run the football to some degree, keep the Chiefs' defense honest. Remember, they got 55 sacks on the season, which is second best in the NFL, and then you can draw the play action and everything else off the run game. So I think Nick Bolton is a key factor in this football game and under-the-radar guy to watch here today.
Yeah, and at number 2, I have Andre Cisco. Going back to that Week 10 game, talked about it in our previous interview that we heard in the last block. He had a couple of big hits on Juju and Valdez-Scantling, and he also had an interception, I believe, in that fourth quarter that helped the Jags make the game even closer because they scored a touchdown after that turnover, I do believe. And so Andre Cisco is showing back up, returning back to Arrowhead Stadium. Is he going to be in the minds of these receivers as they're running routes? Is he going to be able to force another turnover from Patrick Mahomes, which we haven't seen a whole lot of Patrick Mahomes this season? Can he be a catalyst for this defense to really put a clamps or whatever you deem are clamps on a very good Kansas City offense? I think that he has the ability to, especially if the weather starts to get a bit crazier too, it's important for, that defense to be able to step up. I think he'll be one of the guys who needs to step up to the highest degree in order for the Jags to be in the position to really take this victory. So I have Andre Cisco at number 2.
I like how we're all picking different people, and we didn't even talk about this beforehand, so I appreciate that. And at number 1, Brent, you had an offensive lineman at 5. I got Brandon Sheriff at number 1, and I've talked about it throughout the week. But that interior is going to be so key. And I look at a guy like Luke Fortner, and I say, the season has been so long for this guy. I expect him to play well, but I think this is a game where Brandon Sheriff next to him needs to have that stable veteran presence and make sure they're identifying what they need to on the pass rush. Kansas City, 55 sacks in the season. Obviously, the majority of those are coming from Chris Jones, who is technically a defensive tackle. I know he's probably going to move around, but Brandon Sheriff, who did not play well in the first matchup against the Chiefs, played better last week in the wild card round. We know that he's hurt. I get it, but this is a big-time game. game, and he's the second big-time free agent I have for the Jags at the top of this list because you sign these guys for these moments. I think Brandon Sheriff's going to need to be a steady and calming force on this offensive line today if they want to give Trevor time, which he desperately needs in this football game, bro.
Number one for me, guys, I'm going to go with Zay Jones. I think all eyes on Christian Kirk. Of course, how this offense moves is Christian Kirk is a big part of it. And we could see Evan Ingram having another big game. He's been so hot. Zay Jones had 8 catches for 68 yards in that last game against the Chiefs in week number 10. And I also think Zay Jones has to play really well in terms of avoiding the mistake because he has been the guy that has come up so big but also come up short at times with some drops, or remember the slip early against Tennessee. I think he has to play a really good football game because a lot of attention is going to be on the other weapons of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think Zay Jones, coming off that big wild card game, can he keep it going and give the Jags maybe even a big slight threat, but also that security blanket for Trevor Lawrence if everybody else is covered. I think the Chiefs might attack them and say, hey, we'll let Zay Jones beat us. We don't want Evan Ingram beating us. We don't want Christian Kirk beating us. We don't want Travis Etienne beating us. And that could open the door for a big game once again for Zay Jones. He's done that many times this year on his way to a record-breaking year for him.
Yeah, that's really good. And I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit on my number one most important player of this game, Evan Ingram. Listen, in that Week 10 matchup, I believe 3 catches for 14 yards. That's not going to get it done. Since the win streak has happened, he's had 38 catches, nearly 500 yards, I believe 3 touchdowns. But he's been a problem in most of those games outside of the Houston game that the Jags, they wanted, but they didn't necessarily need, and the way that all matched up with players not maybe playing the whole game. So I'm not going to count that one against him. This guy is 6'3", 240, runs a 4.42, and looks every bit the athlete this second half of the season and even going into the playoff game. He is going to cause stress for this Kansas City defense. He is going to cause stress for this Kansas City secondary. And I just want to see how they're going to handle this. To me, Evan Ingram is to Trevor Lawrence as Travis Kelce is to Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he's on that level, at least not yet, but I'm saying the athleticism, the things you can do with him, the way that he can cause separation, the way that he can be someone that you have to account for and account for greatly as the opposing defense. I think that Evan Ingram continuing to show up as he has this past second half of the season, especially the last 5 or 6 weeks, is going to make a huge difference in the Jags' potential to win this game. So I have Evan Ingram as number one.
The top 5 most important players from Brian Middleton, from myself, and Brent Martineau from Kansas City in this football game. Brent, we're about to hear your sit-down interview with Rayshawn Jenkins, and then we'll get back to you after that. How does that sound?
Sounds good. We'll be here, guys. Everybody's all ready to go. Some players walking out on the field. And, again, we'll keep an eye on the elements in this one, as you guys have been talking about it. That forecast could be interesting, which makes the start of the game in the first 20 minutes, first half, very important, I think, for both teams. We'll check back in a little bit later.
Sounds good. Thank you, Brent. And stay warm out there in Kansas City. Let's take a break, Brian Middleton. You will hear Brent Martineau's conversation with Rayshawn Jenkins in just a couple of minutes at the top of the hour, as a matter of fact. So you still have time to make some popcorn, maybe get a beverage, and enjoy the conversation you'll hear with Brent and Rayshawn Jenkins. That'll be at the top of the hour at 2 o'clock. But more to do here, ESPN 690 Game Day Live. We keep it rolling right after this.
Psst, I cracked the code on how to be a morning person, and it comes down to 2 words. You ready? McDonald's breakfast? I know. It's really that simple. Order up a savory sausage McMuffin with egg, a buttery bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, or a fluffy sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles. And when you buy one fave, get another for just $1. Being a morning person never tasted so good. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
No matter what I get, it's 20% off every day when I spend $1 on the McDonald's app. So yesterday was my please the whole fam on the way to the game meal. Today is my finally get them to stop asking, are we there yet meal. Who knows what tomorrow will be? Maybe a delicious crispy chicken sandwich all for myself meal. Whatever it is, it's a win. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Offer valid through December 31st, 2023 at participating McDonald's. Valid once a day. Excludes tax. McD app download and registration required.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell with the law firm Cordell & Cordell. When the prospect of divorce becomes a reality, you need a partner that you can count on. If you're a man in this situation, consider contacting Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men navigate complex legal matters for 30 years.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Jacksonville area attorneys. Offices in Jacksonville and by appointment only in Ponte Vedra Beach. Online at CordellCordell.com. Lisa Cargis, Florida resident partner. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois only.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Start the year off stress-free and sell your home with the Mark Spain Real Estate Guaranteed Offer. Hi, this is Mark Spain, and our offers are the strongest in the industry, so you can sell your home stress-free and make the most money. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home and skip the hassle of constant cleaning and costly repairs. When you get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, there are no showings, no open houses, and no stress. Our guaranteed offer keeps you in control. One of our clients, Tanya, said, from start to finish, we had an excellent experience with Mark Spain Real Estate. They informed us of all our options, and when their guaranteed offer came in, we couldn't help but accept it. It exceeded our expectations. I've been in business for nearly 30 years and have served over 44,000 satisfied clients, and I know what matters most: a quick sell and maximum profit. Find out what your guaranteed offer would be. There's no obligation. Call 855-299-SOLD or go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.
Certain restrictions apply.
Ready to hit the open road and see America? Island Oaks, located just west of Jacksonville, Florida, is the perfect place to set up camp. With lakeside lots, swimming, fishing, dining, ball courts, live music, events, and new activities daily, there's something for everyone here. Call or text 904-906-6779 or visit islandoaksrv.info for weekly specials. Come solo for lasting memories or bring the family and friends for a fun-filled vacation. No RV? No problem. Island Oaks now offers lots equipped with ready-to-stay RVs in a variety of sizes to fit your vacation needs. No matter what you choose, you're sure to have a great time at Island Oaks RV Resort. Book your stay today. Call or text 904-906-6779 or visit islandoaksrv.info for weekly specials.
Hey folks, now that the kids and grandkids have gone home and the decorations are coming down, I can see that it's time to get my carpets and sofas cleaned. That's where Zero Res comes in. Zero Res can clean the carpets, the sofa, the chairs, the area rugs, and even the tile and grout. Google Zero Res and see what your neighbors are saying with over 5,000 five-star customer reviews. Right now, get 20% off carpet cleaning and 20% off upholstery cleaning. Zero Res, spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
They say they'll get your biggest tax refund. Jackson Hewitt says your biggest tax refund guaranteed, and a chance to double your tax refund. Thousands in weekly prizes during the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. Your biggest refund times 2, twice the money, so forget about them. File your taxes on the double at Jackson Hewitt today. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal tax return. Promotion ends 4/2/23. Visit jacksonhewitt.com for rules.
This is the sound of a flat-screen television hurled off a building. Now the new bike your kid wants. These are the things you could have, all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Use Energy Star light bulbs and appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Broadcasting live from the Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN690, a Cox Media Group station.
This is SportsCenter.
We move to the divisional round in the NFL. I'm Chris Smith. Jacksonville QB Trevor Lawrence is 34-0 in college and the NFL when the game is played on Saturday. But ESPN host Keyshawn Johnson thinks the clock strikes midnight for the Cinderella QB.
He will lose the game on Saturday against the Kansas City Chiefs. I understand what he did in college. That's great. This is the National Football League. I understand he played in big crowds. I get all that. This is the National Football League. It's a totally different situation. I love when people talk about what somebody did in college. He's been removed from college for 2 seasons now. This is a totally different situation. They lose.
Heard on ESPN Radio's Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Lawrence is looking to become just the 4th quarterback drafted first overall to win their first 2 playoff starts, joining Joe Burrow, Troy Aikman, and Jim Plunkett. And according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, Giants pass rusher Azeez Ojulari, who was questionable with a quad injury, is expected to play tonight versus the Eagles. And those Eagles will look to beat the Giants for the 3rd time this season. And good news in Philly, as the team that swept the season series won again in the playoffs in 4 of the previous 6 instances. And there's 2 ranked matchups in college hoops. First at Allen Fieldhouse, number 14 TCU up big on second-ranked Kansas, 48-38 at the half. Catch the Big 12 Showdown on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. In the other ranked matchup, title contenders square off in the desert as number 11 Arizona hosts 5th-ranked UCLA, with tip-off coming up on ABC TV and the ESPN app.
Hey, it's Greeny, and it is the best football weekend of the year. 4 spectacular games and storylines, and this will be the place to talk about it all as we are set for the NFL's Final Four. By Monday, it's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN app.
It's game day. Welcome to ESPN 690 Game Day Live. Presented by Fuller Seltzer, Celsius, and Go Tuckin. Here's Kasey Kuhrts and Brian Middleton.
ESPN 690 Game Day Live, a power half hour. Why not? We usually do 2. Let's go for 2.5 on ESPN 690 before the Jags and the Chiefs from Arrowhead Stadium. You just heard from Brent out there in Kansas City. We will talk to him before we get out of here for the day to set the scene one final time and figure out how the Jags can pull this thing off against the Chiefs. Here in the studio, it is Brian Middleton, the broadcast on. I am Kasey Kuhrts, and we'll be back for the postgame show. We do want to remind you about that postgame show. Give us a call. Be in the chat. We want to hear from you, win or loss. Tell us about the Jags. Tell us really whatever you want. After the football game, we will be here to take your call, take your chat, and break down what happened in the game. If you're on the radio right now, ESPN 690, or in your car, or somewhere where you are listening audio only and cannot see me and Brian Middleton, coming up after us at 2:30 will be FSU basketball as they take on Pitt, and then we will be back for the postgame show once the Jags game is over. And anywhere you are listening, watching, you will find the postgame show there as well. We've broken down this game in just about as many ways as possible. We have talked all week, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and now right now we are in the afternoon at 2 o'clock the day of the game. And I've decided we've done enough talking, Brian Middleton. I need to hear first from somebody who will be playing in the football game, and that's Rayshawn Jenkins. Rayshawn Jenkins, who on multiple occasions has made the play of the season. An interception, walk-off of Dak Prescott, and a forced fumble on Josh Dobbs to score the touchdown the Jags needed to beat the Tennessee Titans and advance to the playoffs. 2 incredible plays by Rayshawn Jenkins. And earlier this week, our Brent Martineau caught up with Rayshawn in the Jags locker room. One-on-one, here is that conversation.
Hey, here we are midweek for this next big game.
Right.
How are you feeling from a mental standpoint of coming off the high, getting ready for the next big challenge?
Yeah, that's the goal, especially in this time of the year, where you're in a one-game season basically. So you have to kind of be able to, well, you have to, not even kind of, you have to be able to flip that switch and just move on to the next game because, I mean, it could be your last game, this next game, you know what I'm saying? So you really want to take advantage of every opportunity that presents itself.
This team has been really good at that, though. I mean, you guys had some crazy wins and some emotional even losses this year, and it seems like, boom, flip around. Is that a maturity thing or just a business-like mentality you guys have? What is that?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Definitely business-like because, you know, if you aren't doing your job or playing up to that standard, you could be replaced, and it just is what it is. It's just the nature of the business. Maturity as well. We have a young team. I'm one of the oldest guys on the defense, and I'm still young. So I'm in my 6th year. And so, yeah, I think a little bit of maturity kicks in, especially with the young guys. We got a bunch of 1st and 2nd year guys on this roster. And, it just took maybe a few weeks to kind of get over that learning curve and gel together.
Do you think I think Evan Ingram said this, he said, we've all been through our own stuff, right? Whether it was him up in New York or you name it, anybody, and you had a little bit of your own stuff last year. Right. I mean, is that maybe something that kind of you all have in common, or most of you have in common, to appreciate what you're going through now versus what you went through to get here?
Everybody has their own story, their own route of, how they got here, their own path. And speaking of this team, even just last year, this is a completely different situation. For us to go through that together was probably the best thing that could have happened.
Been around here 15 years, covered a lot of different teams. I said recently, I don't know if I've ever seen a player turnaround as much as you. Last year, you get signed the big deal. I'm not sure if it was poor play or not, but also you got ejected from a game, some not so great moments. Right. Didn't finish here because of injury. And then this year, Rayshon Jenkins, right? Yeah. Is that accurate? I mean, is it just a huge turnaround for you, and where does that come from?
Yeah, it was just a lot of, just distractions going on last year. It didn't feel professional, and it was just a lot of stuff going on besides football that, especially a young team, having to worry about on top of football it's not going to be a good recipe. We I think as a team we all had our moments last year, and of course all the bad is going to be highlighted. When you're a bad team, it is what it is.
Are you in a place where you're so confident right now? You feel like every time you go to a football game, you're going to make a big play. Based off some of the plays that you've made down the stretch of this season.
I mean, I always think I'm gonna make a big play whenever. I made my plays when they came to me this year, and my coaches, they trust me to even put me into situations like that. So, I appreciate it, and my mindset is just to continue to make those plays when it's my turn to make my plays. It's not me going out chasing plays or anything like that. It's just, me simply just, when this play comes to you, you make the play.
How different is your defense than even 2 months ago, maybe when you played Kansas City? There's been a lot of changes, right? I mean, kick Darius out, and you rotating your young linebackers, right. Trayvon's hands in the dirt. I mean, is it different than the last time you played them?
Yeah, maybe just a little bit different, but we're kind of focused on what we're good at. If we're good at rotating our linebackers, that's just what we're good at. If we're good with Trayvon's hands in the dirt, it's just what it is. So we play to our strengths. It's a lot more detailed. It was kind of new to everybody coming in, first year. And we had OTAs in the summer, but in reality, it takes a little bit longer than that.
You've done this now. I remember asking you after the Dallas game in the big pick. I was like, man, you're going to smile and enjoy this thing?
Yeah.
You had the big force the scoop and score. And then that moment, will you enjoy that at some point in the offseason? Will you take a look back at all of these plays and moments that you guys put together?
Yeah, absolutely. That's my plan. Like, my plan is to absolutely just be where my feet are right now. Just be here. Invest everything I have into this moment right here, because I know how precious this time is right here, and it's going to eventually move on.
How much do you want to keep this thing together and this ride going as much as you're enjoying it right now?
Yeah, I want to keep it together for as long as possible. I actually got another 2 years. Man, we've done some great stuff here, especially coming in and helping be a part of, a positive culture. So I definitely want to keep that going, especially to guys who may not be used to, this organization being where it's at right now. I want to be able to, when guys come in, hey, this is the way to do this. This is the standard around here. Now, I don't know what, kind of what's been the norm around here, past years, but we got a new standard around here.
Should you have made the Pro Bowl this year?
Yeah, I would definitely. I'm going to just be honest with you. I definitely think I should have made Pro Bowl this year. Turn the film on, turn the stats on. It was one of the best safety performances of the year. So definitely we should have made Pro Bowl, but puts that chip back on the shoulder. I gotta go back and improve again and again and again and again.
He's right. He should have been a Pro Bowler. Great question from Brent there, and shout out to Rayshon for answering the question, because some guys, in that moment, it's about the team, and you heard that, but, he understands the season he had. He had an incredible season, worthy of the Pro Bowl, but you know how I feel about the Pro Bowl if you've been listening here for a while. It's a sham. I'll just kind of give you that headliner. And Rayshawn Jenkins should have been in the Pro Bowl. That was indeed Rayshawn Jenkins with Brent Martineau earlier this week. Rayshawn, another opportunity to make another play of the season added to the list. Number 3, it would be for Rayshawn if he could make a big play later today. A guy that's made plenty of big plays in his career is one Rashean Mathis. We've had Rashean on Brent and Friends every single week on Mondays at 4 o'clock. Rashean talks about all kinds of things, the defense, his playing days. But what I want you to hear is Rashean Mathis talking about this Chiefs team, breaking down what makes them dangerous. This was on Monday from Brent and Friends with Jaguars legend Rashean Mathis.
Let's stick with the tight ends for a second because a lot of times it falls down to the linebacker to cover them. Sometimes you see the guys on the front.
Oh, yeah, and there's a good one coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, well, this is the point, right? Gerald Everett, 6 of 109 for a touchdown. Donald Parham had 4 catches, 23 yards. Trey McKitty had 2 catches for 16 yards. Like, if we're letting Kasey get off for 12 catches and 140 yards, the man may score 7 touchdowns on his own. What, if anything, can they do against a guy like Travis Kelce? Or is he matchup proof?
Keep eyes on him. Don't let him beat you. So we have to keep eyes on this cat. We have to put a big guy, put one. If it's Cisco, whomever it is, we got to put someone on him. Jenkins, we got to put someone on him that we know that can run with him and that can battle with him. And I actually have 4 eyes on him because we can't let him beat us. He's the guy that can break the game open. We know Holmes love him. So we have to make someone else beat us. I know they have other weapons, but if we lose the game, it's not because he scored those 7 touchdowns that you mentioned. It's because someone else beat us.
Which, by the way, we would lose the game in Jacksonville if he scored 7 touchdowns. I'm pretty convinced of it.
Sure.
That'd be tough to.
You tell me you think it's impossible?
I do think he's a tough matchup even with these Jags because what has hurt them over the middle of the field, right? Do they have that guy? Do they have the confidence in Muma or Lloyd? Maybe it is Jenkins, or maybe they bring in that 3 safety look a little bit, but that's usually against the team that likes to run it. So I can't see them doing that. They are a different defense from even when Kansas City played. That's the one thing. A couple months, this defense has kind of changed over time. They've evolved, which is fascinating. We're going to let you go here in a couple minutes, but Mahomes and Reed feel like Belichick and Brady right now. Like, that's how monumental of a task this is. Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, Arrowhead Stadium. Am I over-dramatizing that, or in the postseason right now, this time of year, are they that good?
They're that good. This is no question. No question. I remember going and playing Brady in the playoffs. I remember that game like it was yesterday, and I knew what we were battling. We knew what we were battling as a secondary. We knew the game was going to fall on our shoulders, and it's just going to be that type of game. You're going up against one of the best, if not one of the best, if not the best quarterback, and one of the best, if not the best coach in the league. One of the best duos in the league. So you have to accept that challenge. You can't act like it's not there. You have to face it and understand who you're going up against and what type of game you have to play. So we're going to have to play lights out to beat this team. There's no question about it. Can we do it? Yes, but you have to understand what type of football game you have to be able to play to do it, and that's the biggest thing for me with the Jaguars, with us. We have to understand what type of game we have to play to beat the team, and it's going to be a mistake-free game.
When you played Brady in this one you're talking about, did you feel like could it almost be detrimental to feel like you have to play the perfect game? Because then you maybe press or don't play loose enough, but at the same time you want to be heightened on your details and everything else. I got to believe that's a pretty fine line balance.
It is a fine line. That's a great point. There's no such thing as perfect, but there is a such thing as discipline. So just being disciplined within your keys. And if I'm disciplined, then I like where I stand at the end of the day. But if you play undisciplined ball against a team like this, they will score a lot of points and make you look really bad. So that's the thing about it. It's not being perfect, but it is about being disciplined. Read your keys, trust your keys, do your job, and trust that man next to you that he's going to do his.
It's an interesting deal because when the Patriots play over the years, they have this formula of we're not going to beat ourselves. We're going to wait until you make a mistake, essentially. That's kind of the way they did everything, and most people would make a mistake, sure. And they might be better than you anyway, but they're not going to beat themselves. The Kansas City Chiefs, they might beat themselves on some spots. They like to kind of let it fly.
Yeah.
They're not – I don't think they don't have that same mentality, Rasheen. But to your point, what you just said, if you do make a mistake, they are going to kill you. Like there's no room for mistakes for you to make, at least, or they're going to take advantage of every single one of them.
Yes, they're gonna take advantage of everything, and I think Mahomes and Brady is just different monsters. You kind of got to. Brady was a precise gunslinger. He was going to be a gunslinger at times, but Mahomes is like a loose cannon. Like, he's going to get the ball all over the field, doesn't care who's in the spot. So he doesn't care about making mistakes early in the game because he's going to try to blow the doors open early in the game. And Brady was a little more precise. So for making that point, I'm saying that they can make mistakes and they can back it up because they know they can put points up on the board. So he's not scared to make those plays and make those mistakes early. And it's, and Trevor kind of has that same mentality where I trust my ability and I'm going to be there. I'm going to put us in the position to win. He's trying to develop that mentality. And they understand what weapons they have and how many points they average per game, right? So they understand that you have to score a lot of points to beat them. And they don't trust that many teams can do that.
Yeah, the Jags have to go into this game from the opening kick and think they're down 27-0. I mean, that's for real. That's kind of what they have to do. Yeah. Because they can't make the kind of obviously nobody can. They just got away with that the other day.
And the other part of Kansas City, by the way, is not just that they'll eat you up on mistakes, but they don't need a lot of time to correct theirs.
That's true.
So, like, if you force a punt out of them and then they get the ball back after you go 3 and out, they only need but about 1.5 to 2 minutes to get back to the end zone.
Yeah.
Like, this team moves that ball.
It heightens everything. You're right. Even late in the half, if you punt it back to them with 42 seconds, you better watch out for at least 3, if not 7.
And that's the aspect that kind of reminds me of Brady Belichick is like anytime this man got the ball when they were together, you were in danger of getting scored on. It didn't matter if there were 24 seconds left or 12 minutes and 24 seconds.
But the wild thing is that there's a lot of guys like that. The Jags have shown that. The Jags actually scored late in that first half with Kansas City with not a lot of time left in the first half. Obviously, Mahomes can do it. Josh Allen did it yesterday.
Yeah, Trevor and the Jags can do it as long as it's not the first quarter.
Yes, that's true.
The Jags have been slow starters, and that's what Aaron Schachter was alluding to right there, Brent Martineau. And Jags legend Rasheen Mathis, who we have on the show every single Monday. We will have him again tomorrow, win or lose, but hopefully it's a win so we can have him another week after that. Rasheen has been great. We've also had Maurice Jones-Drew on Mondays, Clay Harbor, who you heard earlier, on Wednesdays as well. So let's hope we keep this thing going, and that will rely on a Jacksonville Jaguars victory. But what will it take? We've talked about it. A fast start is needed for the Jags to win this football game. What does that actually mean? What do I think a fast start means? What does Brian Middleton think? What does Brent Martineau think? Let's ask Brent next. Let's go to Kansas City and wrap up the show. ESPN 690 Game Day Live. What does a fast start look like for these Jacksonville Jaguars? How can they get it done? Who has to be involved? And we tell you who's going to win the football game. We wrap up the show right after this. In case you were wondering, Rasheen Mathis, big Trevor Lawrence guy.
He rolled out to his left and made a play to Agnew, I believe.
Yes, that's the play.
On the sideline. I was like that's Mahomes, that's Lamar, that's Josh Allen. It's not too many quarterbacks that's going to make that throw. And, even scramble like that. Find his way out of the pocket with poise and make that type of throw. Like, that's big-time football.
Hear more from Rasheen every Monday at 4 p.m., only on ESPN 690.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Mostly cloudy and cool today with a few showers developing, highs in the lower 60s. Occasional rain and a few thunderstorms tonight with some heavy rain at times as we drop into the 50s. And tomorrow will be windy, a mix of sun and clouds for your Sunday and rather warm and humid. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially early and then again late in the day into the evening with highs near 80 degrees. For the CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jack's First Alert Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds. Before you buy a diamond anywhere, shop Beard's Diamonds.
We've been in Jacksonville now for 15 years, and as you know and I know, we have to be ready for those hot days. And this time of year, the cooler temperatures, too. Need that AC working and then be ready to turn on the heat for a day or two. Bold City Heating and Air has us ready. They have for years. Can't say enough about their customer service. The communication, they are prompt, they are clean, they are good. Bold City Heating and Air. And right now, take advantage of their 0% financing on all purchases and just $97 for a tune-up. Be ready for the chilly weather and the heat. Bold City Heating and Air. BoldCityAC.com.
The USS Orlick is a one-of-a-kind floating ship museum. Come visit her in downtown Jacksonville.
There's a feeling in the air where people seem to care in Jacksonville.
The Orlick, a Gearing-class destroyer with 18 battle stars, is one of the most distinguished ships of all time and the most since the end of World War II. Jacksonville is a military town, and the Orlick honors all those that have served our great country. She's a great location for special occasions and meetings. Weddings, birthdays, anniversaries, memorial services are all spectacularly displayed on her massive deck. The Orlick is also a one-of-a-kind location for a business meeting. Your dream event can come to life aboard this historic destroyer. To find out more, visit jacksnavalmuseum.org or call 904-789-SHIP.
This is where I'm meant to be. Hello, Jacksonville. Hello, Jacksonville. I'm where I'm meant to be.
Find out more about holding your next event on the Orlick. 904-789-SHIP.
Hey, it's Brett Mortno from Action Sports Jacks. Did you know you can watch our radio show? Yeah, video of a radio show. Just search ESPN690 Jacks on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, or follow me on Twitter at BrentASJacks. Watch the show live weekdays from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. or listen on ESPN 690.
Couple minutes ago, ESPN 690 Game Day Live. The Chiefs and the Jags, a couple hours away at this point. We've been waiting for, it feels like forever, but it is finally here after a long week of waiting. It feels like forever ago they beat the Chargers the way that they did. Al Stewart picking up on what we're doing with the commercials. Nice little LOL in the chat. Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? We just got to, it's a catchy spot. I don't know what to tell you. And we had to put it in there. So closer and closer to the football game. And we've talked about it all week. What will it take for the Jacksonville Jaguars to win? And I think everybody's in agreement. A fast start is the answer. But what does that actually mean? What is a fast start? Yes, they need points, but how do they put those points up on the board? Brent Martineau in Kansas City. How do the Jags get off to a fast start? What needs to be called? Who needs to execute? What does a fast start look like to you?
Well, they got to execute the script. You know, that's the big thing. And if you look at the beginning of the year, I think this is amazing, kind of the tale of two seasons in a way. They actually were really good in the front part of games. And the script of Doug Peterson, we remember saying it multiple times, man, that's good. And they're executing it. They're playing it well. And it didn't mean they would always win the game, by the way. They just would get off to a good start. They had scored first in 6 of the first 7 or 7 of the first 8 games. And I think we forget about that because now all of a sudden they're digging holes and they're down early. So I think just follow the script and execute the script. I mean, don't slip on a play. Don't drop a ball. I think the plays have been there a lot of the times, and they just haven't executed. Or in recent games, take the Jets game in the first series, it was a fumble, and then the deflected pass for a pick in the Chargers game. Obviously, you have to avoid that. Like, that's catastrophic early on today, but they certainly have to get some first downs and set a tone and a tempo and try to score first.
I would agree with that. And, yeah, catastrophic, the interception early in the game last week against the Chargers. But I think a fast start looks like Trevor Lawrence getting in rhythm early. So I think they can't be, and Doug Peterson can't be, which I don't anticipate him being, but worried from that interception early. I think they need to come out. He needs to get in rhythm, short passes to get this thing rolling that will then open it up down the field for Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, potentially Christian Kirk as well. But when we talk about fast starts, a guy that it feels like if you don't get him off to a quick start, the game kind of goes missing for him, and that's Travis Etienne. Do you expect to see him involved early in this football game?
I do, but I'm really anticipating how they cover him up and really try to stop the run. Again, I think it's worth mentioning if you go back to those early, the Week 10 game, the first half runs on the outside, they got stymied, and that actually set the Jags' run game back for a few weeks. They couldn't do anything all the way through the Titans game, and then they got it going again after that, I think, against Dallas. But it didn't work on the outside. I think it was like, I remember talking in the locker room to some guys, and it was like they knew what play was coming. That's how much it wasn't working. And then they went to the inside zone runs in the second half. And I also remember Travis Etienne saying, hey, we probably should have done that earlier or gone to that earlier. So I'm interested to see where they run the football, not just how much they run the football, but where they run the football in this game compared to Week 10.
We talked about it a couple mornings ago. Do the Jags need a wrinkle? They opened up the game with Kansas City in the first matchup with an onside kick that they recovered. What do you anticipate, if anything, Doug Peterson doing with that wrinkle potentially today?
Well, I think the only thing we really haven't seen from just an outside-the-box type thing is like a Logan Cook fake punt. You know, he can throw it. He's a really good athlete, and he can make that throw if they get the look. A lot of that depends on the look. I don't think they're going onside kick. Sure, they'll go for it on fourth down at some point in this game, I would believe. But I'm going to give you this, guys. If they go down the field and score, and they get the ball first, or they end up scoring first and they score a touchdown, I'm going to say they go for 2 to make it 8-0. And that's going to be the wrinkle that sets it off. And there might be even another one after that. But they're going to go for 2, make it 8-0, and at least steal a point, if possible.
I like that. That's intriguing. Brian Middleton, do you have a potential trick play the Jags could be using today in this football game?
I don't have a trick play. I'm just asking them not to run that play that they ran against the, I believe, the
Tennessee.
end around.
Tennessee.
The end around kind of pitch. Maybe it would have been a double pass. Just don't run that. That's all I got.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Logan Cook throw one, to your point, Brent. We see him warm up. Give the man an opportunity again if you get the look. You are in Kansas City, Brent. You've seen the team come in. You were at the team hotel. You were the team on the plane. You know how it feels. You know what it feels like for the team. Who wins the football game? What's the score and why?
Yeah, I think it's a confident group, guys. I think they're businesslike. I think they know what's at stake. I don't think they're satisfied with what they've done this season, even though it is pretty satisfying what they already have done. And I think they come in here not necessarily as big of an underdog as Vegas thinks they are. I think they know if they play well, they can win. They have to play well, though. And I think they do. I think Trevor and the offense plays really well in this game. I think they win a shootout 35-31. They get it done. They make just enough plays on the defensive side of the football to get it done. And if it's a game in the fourth quarter, any part of this team, special teams, defense, offense, thinks they can make the game-winning play. They have a lot of confidence to do that, and that's all you need. Make the game-winning play sometime in the fourth quarter.
There's no doubt this team is confident, Brent. Enjoy the game. We will be locked into your Twitter. And if you're not locked in, it's not hard to find because it's always at the top of your timeline. But we will talk to you in the post-game show, hopefully after a Jags win.
Have a good one, guys. Enjoy it.
The post-game show that I referenced will be right here on ESPN690. If you can see us, if you can hear us, the post-game show will be there. We want to hear from you after the game. We'll go as soon as the game is over. Aaron Schachter, Brent Martineau will join us. I'll be here. Brian Middleton will be here, and we'll break this thing down, win or lose. Brian Middleton, who wins the football game?
Jags, 27-23.
27-23. Why not? Let's homer up. Give me the Jags by the exact same score as last week, 31-30. For Brian Middleton, the broadcast done. For Brent Martineau in Kansas City, I'm Kasey Kuhrts. We appreciate you joining us, getting you set for the game. Up next on the radio is FSU basketball. They take on Pitt. Up next on the stream will be us in the postgame show. We hope you join us then. Enjoy the football. Go Jags.
All offers are with approved credit and not in conjunction. See dealer for complete details. Start something new. Sales event.
Everyone's welcome to